On the Odyssey app is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan, an Odyssey station.
A bit of a flat spot, maybe.
Got to make a decision. Land short or on. He's trying to fly it.
Fly it in. That's two for sure for Scheffler.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Hurry, come on, little two-man game. Looney down the lane, Again, Steph, that energy he plays with. This thing's so bad, it's going straight to them, but the Warriors are staying with it. Look, two defenders staying with Steph.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Pelicans hold on, driving into Murray. Somebody's thrown something on the floor. 46 seconds to go, and a whistle blew. It's a chicken wing. Why would someone throw something that good out on the floor? It's crispy, it's warm.
Yes.
And I almost had to go out and I'm so hungry.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader, 1080, The Fan. Oh, happy Friday, everybody. What is happening? It's a beautiful Friday morning.
We won't be throwing chicken wings in here this morning.
No, we eat our chicken wings. We do not throw them.
Chicken wing sounds delicious right now. I'm not going to lie.
I'm a little concerned.
About my love of chicken wings at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No, I'd be down for some eggs and chicken wings.
Chicken wings for breakfast would be solid.
I could eat chicken wings, yeah.
Chicken wings anytime.
Small, easy.
Do some hot honey maybe for breakfast.
Oh, come on.
Oh, man.
Open up a breakfast restaurant that sells wings. It's an underutilized thing. We need to normalize different foods for breakfast.
Yeah, you can do some sort of bourbon maple glaze on them as a breakfasty sort of thing.
Little over easy egg, dip it in the yolk.
There you go. Yeah. Like we're on to something.
Let's go. Chicken wings.
I always wanted to open a breakfast food restaurant truck thing.
Eggs and wings? Wings and eggs?
Yeah, something easy. Something kind of unique, easy, quick. Not very costly.
There you go. Go find an old gas station that's for sale or something. And
ding, ding, ding.
Exactly.
Ring the bell as you walk in the door. I'm here for my sandwich.
It's a cool throwback sound. Like you think of the 50s, but it would get annoying all day, right?
Yeah, all day. You're like,
I've always wanted to open up a place that had the old saloon doors.
Yeah.
That was always my dream of like walking in, pushing them open. You walk into the joint, everybody turns around and looks at you.
That was, it's the only, well, my aunt would be the other. The only positive of going to Juneau, Alaska.
Saloon doors.
There is a saloon there that's been there forever, and I forget the name of it. It's like a Red River Saloon or something.
Sounds about right.
The Pig Saloon. It's saloon doors entrance. Yeah. It's not, there's no main door, like there's no regular door. It's you push the doors in.
The only thing you need at that point is some spurs on the back of your boots that are rattling against the wood floors as you walk in. Right. Order a whiskey for a quarter.
Couple of 6 shooters there on your hips.
Now we're talking. Yeah.
Chicken or the egg?
That's a great
there
name.
You go.
Trademark TM. TM. Don't steal that.
It's, I was coming in today. I was actually concerned. Legitimately, Friday, feel good, 2 guests, should be a good show, lot to talk about. And I came in a little concerned, and I've already had one of the concerns put to rest.
Alleviated.
I got a like on a text message at 2:30 a.m.
Wow.
And the original thing that I saw on my phone at 4:30 was dirt. And I went, oh no, 2:30.
Uh-oh.
He's going to call out.
Uh-oh.
And I opened it up, and it was a like on a text, but it was 2:30. And I'm like, what is he going to be like in a couple hours?
Usually, like, at this time of day, I'm still so punch drunk that there's nothing that really affects me. Like, this early, the sleep hasn't hit me. It's in the window from, where is it probably strongest? I would say 10 to 1.
Oh, dude, that window can be tough for me, too.
The 10 to 1 window where you get done, because there's a little bit of a high, the bright lights, you're chugging your coffee, you're like, okay, and then by the end of the show, you're kind of running on a bit of fumes. You get home, you sit down on the couch. I turn on the Masters today. That's when the real battle begins.
I have a really awful admission to tell you.
What do you got?
I succumbed to the Masters nap round 1 yesterday. I missed almost
It's
all
okay.
of the really great golf in the beginning of the day. I didn't
Yeah.
catch it at the end of the round 1.
Well, the beautiful thing I will say about being on the West Coast as a Masters viewer is that they are usually done around 5 o'clock our time.
Yep.
And if you're watching on ESPN, they go immediately
Into
from
the
round
replay.
1
Yep.
into replay
Yeah.
of round 1.
Yeah.
And so they pick up right where they left off. So if you are going to nap Thursday or Friday, I know Tiger just missed a birdie putt. Oh, I didn't see that.
No.
Somebody going in the water. Oh, hold on.
It's
hold on.
holding.
That's
Hold
our boy
on.
It's
Spieth.
holding.
That ball's gone.
It's gone.
That ball's gone.
Dude, Spieth has had some bad moments.
I liked his look yesterday, though. A little black, kind of a
pink?
neon,
That
pinkish
pinkish kinda
red
hue, yeah.
hue. I kind of like with the black hat. I'm a big fan of the Spieth look. The nap though during golf it's undefeated.
Undefeated.
You're laying around on the weekend. It's you've been watching golf all day. It's exhausting.
Well, and I know the golf purists who don't miss a shot in a hole. You missed it. I see most of the highlights when I need to.
I mean, you do.
That's the great part about golf.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. I did succumb. My wife did too. She won some major brownie points yesterday. I got home and she had downloaded the Masters app. And she put together because on the app, you can pick the players that you want to follow.
Yep.
And they show you all the highlights and the shots of those guys that are hitting. So she filled out the whole thing, all the players that we're interested in. Walked into that yesterday.
We're interested in, huh?
Come on, she's into golf. I made her wear her Masters shirt and hat yesterday, too. Put it on! I bought it at Augusta.
You're such a weirdo.
Just the hat this weekend, nothing else. We'll see if that one works out, too.
Swag, can you help me with something? What was the year of your life? I don't care if it was when you were 8. I don't care if it was you were 24.
Mm-hmm.
What is the first true sports heartbreak of your life?
It was, and I've said this, my first sports cry. It was Oregon State as the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They had been number 1 almost all season long, and they lose in their first game. This was before the full 64 teams. I think it was like 48. So the top 4 seeds got byes. They didn't play the very first game. But yeah, Rolando Blackman, Kansas State baseline jumper is in the final seconds and knocked him out.
Oregon State legend, little bit of a choker, that Ralph Miller. A lot of years they got dumped out of that
nobody
tourney.
could
Bit
run.
of a Bobby Cox vibe
Nobody
to it.
could
Yeah.
run an offensive set for 2.5 minutes and end up with a layup like the 1980 Oregon State basketball
How did anybody watch that?
What it was, I don't know.
2.5 minutes?
There was no
It
shot
was-
clock. It's
I
what
know.
it was.
I just had.
It was kind of amazing and beautiful, but yes, if you
pass and screen and pass.
Think
and
about all
screen
the
and
things
It
you
was.
could create in a
Screen.
2-minute basketball offense.
Oh God, that's a long play. How long did it
They
take to
just-
diagram that out?
No, I mean, it was just a system. I mean, it was kind of like before the shot clock when if North Carolina had a lead late and Dean Smith would run 4 corners for they'd be up 8 with 3 minutes to go, and he'd just put 4 fingers up,
Game
and
was
they would
over.
just run that and run it and run it until they got fouled.
I think it's one
It was
category
amazing.
we've made progress in college hoops. At least that's one. I still think 30 is too long. Let's get to we don't need 30 seconds. Let's go to 25. But at least that's one step in the right direction.
Well, I asked Swag that, and that's a good answer because my wife is 37. She's going to be 38 in a couple months. She suffered her first sports fan heartbreak yesterday of her entire life, and it broke her. It
Wow.
broke her to the point where she said, I'm done. I can't do it.
I'm trying to think. Oh, I know what it is.
The mass exodus of Oregon State women's hoops.
Ah.
I have just sent her screenshots of each player's goodbye because you see the picture. You can just, that's Portal, right?
Yeah.
Immediately. Nobody's doing that to stay.
No.
Thank you, Oregon State. It's been such a
No.
great run. I'm coming back for another year.
And most of the ladies aren't going, I'm going to the draft.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of money in women's, professional basketball yet. Most of them stay for 4 years. So I've been sending her screenshots. And yesterday she saw, I forget who she saw, but she said,
Reagan Beers?
No.
Oh, it was before Reagan.
It was before. It might have been
Was it?
Hansford. They have 7 players.
7
I mean, the whole
now.
team's
Yeah.
now gone.
Basically.
Yeah.
She saw that and she goes, well, this is terrible. At least all we have is Reagan. And she went upstairs, and maybe an hour later,
Oh, no.
Reagan Beers puts on her, Twitter account, I thank you, I'm gone.
Oh, no.
And I sent the screenshot and said, this is your fault.
You jinxed it.
And she just looked at me and she saw the photo on her phone and she goes, I'm done. I can't do this. I care too much. And I said, this is your first heartbreak in sports. You're 37.
Yeah, no kidding.
Toughen up.
Yeah, imagine watching Kobe lob an alley-oop to Shaq to take away a chance. You thought your team was going to win an NBA championship.
You split in Detroit in 90 and then come home and get swept.
Yeah, that's a brutal end.
Yeah.
I said, you quite literally sat on a couch and watched me watch my team lose a Super Bowl
because they couldn't catch a
3
punt.
times in our marriage. And that didn't register for you at all? Like, sports is going to break your heart.
99% of being a sports fan is having your heart broken.
Oh, terrible.
There's very few positive memories in there. Very few championships, unless you're from the city of Boston. We're all kind of in the same category.
We're not going to highlight it much. We do have a Beaver segment today. It's baseball. We will give the Beavers baseball fans their stuff today. It is devastating, and I was told by somebody in the athletic department that a job that people once loved, they don't like anymore.
Yeah.
I know we think of our fandom and our teams and like, how good are we going to be? There are people that actually work in that athletic department that have to deal with all of this, and it is beyond depressing at this point.
Yep.
What's happened to that institution's athletic department?
It feels like a death sentence, right? With what's happened over the last couple of months. I will reiterate what I've said about that team all along, and I know some people might disagree with this. I'm not trying to be overly critical of every individual decision, but the football players I get. You signed up to play Pac-12 football, your head coach left. Like, I understand it. There's a lot of NIL money in college football. The Jordan Pope move, I get. Your team sucks. They're not going anywhere. You want to play relevant college hoops for the maybe 1 year you have left. Totally understand it. This is the one that I have a really hard time squaring up.
It's conference. We got that report that Donovan Hunter, the freshman from Medford, who was a stud for Oregon State, was going to lead them this year. She left, and somebody in Eugene at one of the stations, hopefully not the Dan Lanning report guy, said that it's conference. It's the conference next year, and it's the future uncertainty of where things lie right now.
I would have gotten that maybe after one more season because I know the whole team wouldn't have been back for more than 1 year. But to me, I just have a hard time viewing it as an athlete. Like, if I was on that team, my mindset would be more like, we're going to show you we belong in the Power 5. Our whole team is going to be back. We just went to an Elite 8. As I mentioned the last time when some of the big names entered the portal, like Gonzaga women's hoops is solid. They're in the WCC too. They were a 3 seed that made it all the way to the Elite 8. I get it long term, having serious ramifications for all of the programs, not having solid ground in what conference you're in. But in that instance where it's a whole collective, and they said all year, every interview they gave, it was about we're going to bring it all back. We should be all back together. Next year, we're going to be even better. Like, it was all about that. And then you get 2 days removed from your season ending. Your best player enters the portal, and then everybody else follows suit. If there were $1 million NIL checks waiting for you on the other side, again, would get it. But that's not the reality in women's college basketball. And my mindset would have been more so, like, let's show them that we belong on that level. Let's show them we can make a Final Four because they had the team that was able to do it.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I think what I've learned in my life is sometimes when you have a good thing, recognize it and keep building on the good thing. And it's hard, though, to be at that age and maybe recognize it to the full extent. The only counter is that they would not really be on television much. And I know that that's not the end-all, be-all, but for that sport and for those women, sometimes being on TV and getting the exposure gets you the NIL money that most of the men in basketball and football tend to just naturally get because they exist.
Yeah.
So I don't know where all these players are going to end up. I haven't seen any intel on that, but
it's depressing, man. It really is. There's a really weird feeling right now, and it sucks because it's also connected to our show. But you have never had Oregon State fans be lower than they are right now. And there's been bad years, there's been bad coaches, there's been bad moments. They have never been lower than they are right now.
No.
And in a lot of different cases, Oregon fans have never been higher. And there's never been a better feeling about the direction programs are going and the feeling about where they're heading.
The worst part of it for Scott Rueck is he's done everything right.
Everything right.
There's nothing he can do.
There's absolutely nothing he can do.
Yeah. Somebody asked me if I think he's going to leave. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. He loves Oregon State, but
at this point,
he's
your whole
too
team
good.
just went. He built a team that went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I don't
and
even
they
know.
all bounced 2 weeks after the season ended.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know.
I would hope he stays, but like at this point, he's so good. Like he can go get any job he wants.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome to heartbreak as a sports fan at 37 years old.
Took you long enough.
And then she's quitting. She's like, "No, I'm done.
I'm out.
I
I'm out.
don't care about sports anymore."
I mean, that's probably the right move. It's nothing but heartbreak waiting for you, so you might as well get out now, you know?
Yeah, your highest highs still get, defeated somehow. You're like,
Yes.
oh, okay, well, that was a waste of my time.
That old team comes back, they lose in the Final Four next year. Guess
When
what?
was,
More
so
heartbreak.
I guess the question is, when was your last moment of pure sports elation? Like euphoria.
Bravos. 2021 World Series.
Yeah.
Clobbering not only a team I hated growing up.
Oh, the Killer Bees. Oh, Biggio and Bagwell.
Shove it. Baseball out of your stadium. One in your stadium. You
sta-
cheaters.
Can you start doing that in a Giants uniform? I'm waiting for one of those. He's hitting like $1.75.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he sucks. What the hell happened, man?
We got all the good stuff.
Sold us a bill of goods, dude.
That's
This guy
why we
was
moved on.
cranking tank jobs in the World Series. I got all excited.
Oh,
Got
man.
none of that, man.
Probably the Braves, 2021. My last, and the Niners they've been fun. They've been relevant, but it sucks to lose a Super Bowl.
Yeah, the only thing they need to do is win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you kind of the NFC title games don't quite feel the way that they used to.
They still can, though.
It's still
There's
great.
still a lot of happiness with that.
Great to be there, and they're in the mix. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a busy show. We will start with a little bit of a hodgepodge of golf and basketball. Quite the combination we'll start with. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan. Well, I hate to start the show with this devastating news, but I must pass along. I'm a broadcaster. The Golden Bachelor's already gotten divorced.
He didn't make it very long.
3-month marriage.
3 months, that's it? You're telling me those TV shows are all a sham? Is that what you're telling me? I don't believe it.
I didn't think he married the hottest older gal either.
Well, was he crazy or she crazy?
That's
the
They're both on the
question.
show. That's a 50-50
If you're going on that show and you're how old is he? 50-something?
Oh, he was like 60.
I think he was older than that.
70?
If you're going on that show in your
weren't
60s.
his daughters like in their 30s or something?
He went in 60 or 70. He was in the geriatric stage.
I mean, I think if you're in your 60s, though, you said you didn't pick the hottest older gal. I feel like if you're in your 60s, that's not the most important thing you're looking for.
Well, he obviously didn't pick the best personality either because they were married for 3 months.
3 months, man.
I'm glad we all watched that show.
Ratings bonanza, dude.
Old people still can't find love.
No.
They're just like us.
just as crazy as
She had
everybody
man hands.
Oh, man. I want to play a clip real quick.
else. Okay.
Super random, kind of a hodgepodge here. I'm going to play a clip from the Pelican King game that I know Dirt was glued to yesterday.
Glued to it every second.
On TNT.
Did you find it?
Yeah, Kevin Harlan. An incident happened in the second half. Here's Kevin Harlan.
Pelicans hold on, driving into Murray. Somebody's thrown something on the floor. 46 seconds to go, and a whistle blew. It's a chicken wing. Why would someone throw something that good out on the floor? It's crispy. It's warm.
Yes.
And I almost had to go out and I'm so hungry.
I hear your stomach over here growling.
What's that guy? I hope he eats it. I'm just going to save it for, put it in that little heater over there. 46 seconds to go. It's Murphy with the ball and Fox the quick foul.
Right back in.
Right, seamlessly transitioning.
You know, you can certainly argue with me when we get into like beach arguments, me and Jeff Russ, and you can side with Russ all you want. I have a podcast idea one day with Russ. We don't agree on anything.
No, you guys argue every day after the show.
About something dumb, right?
Music, television,
everything.
Beaches, does not matter.
And I tend to believe that I'm right in most arguments, and you are allowed to choose the side of Jeff Russ. But I will tell you one thing that I think will make you rethink being on the Rust position of any argument with me.
Okay.
He thinks Kevin Harlan's overrated and not good.
He loses every argument from here on out.
Thank you.
He's done. Every point that he has
Thank
is
you.
invalid. I don't take anything that he says seriously anymore. Kevin
Says
Hart,
he's gimmicky
Kevin
and
Hart.
it's like a character.
Yeah, no, there are broadcasters that are that way. Kevin Harlan is a national treasure, and there's times that I know he calls a lot of big stuff, and he does, Westwood One playoff, and he does TNT game. I want Kevin Harlan to have a bigger role. It was so fun listening to Ian Eagle call the Final Four.
I agree.
Having a fresh voice. Ian Eagle is great. Kevin Harlan deserves, whether it's the NBA Finals, I don't care what it is, get him on something because he's that entertaining.
I would argue Ian Eagle is a bit more gimmicky with his one-liners than Harlan is.
Yeah.
Okay. I can dig that. I like them both.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of their style.
But Ian Eagle is much more about the little puns and things, and I feel like he's thought about stuff as he's going through a game and names and rosters and where he's at and that sort of thing than Harlan. Harlan just calls what he sees.
I've come to change a little bit of my stance on a broadcaster you don't like that gets a lot of national stuff right now.
Joe Davis?
Yes.
Are you anti-Joe Davis now?
I'm not anti, but I did hear an interview he did a week or so ago, and I had to do a double take because I didn't know. It's one thing to tell me your voice changes a smidge for broadcasting. I get that. I talk a little louder than I normally do.
You generally project a little bit more. And
right.
Yeah.
Have you heard Joe Davis talk when he's not broadcasting a baseball game?
Sounds totally different, doesn't it?
Oh, my God. I
Night
didn't
and
know
day.
it was him. And I'm like, dude, how much deeper do you make your voice for 9 innings?
Yeah, that's
And then he's like, hi, I'm Joe Davis. And I'm like, what
Where
is
did
this?
that come from?
Man.
That's one of the reasons I'm kind of anti Joe Davis is the point that Russ is trying to make about Harlan that I think he misses the mark on is he seems like a character playing a play-by-play guy.
He's a tryhard.
If that makes it, like everything he says is in a play-by-play style of voice instead of just being your natural self and talking and having a conversation.
I've talked to Kevin Harlan. for some TNT games when I used to go cover practices. He would be there before a TNT game. His voice is like that. It's not projected as loud, but that's his voice.
That's how he talks.
He's just been blessed with that.
With great golden pipes. Somebody, one of our people, was saying Oil and Water with Russ and Sprague, new podcast.
Oh, I like that's a good name.
You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast.
And I think if you looked at both of us, you'd conclude I'm clearly water. He's obviously oil. I mean, come on.
There is zero doubt about that. Zero doubt.
First round Masters takeaways. Let's fire them off here.
I'm still a little shocked that he's anti-Kevin Harlan. I'm not going to lie to you. That's rubbing me the wrong way.
It's one thing to not
I need to
be
confront
a favorite.
him today.
He doesn't like him at all.
Yeah, you're just an idiot. You're an idiot. That's a bad take. There's a lot of bad takes.
There is. Surprised Bryson went out and he
shot a 65.
Yeah. That
too.
one I wasn't expecting. Not that I expected.
Dusha's back.
Not that I expected him to go out there and stink, but I didn't expect that. Scheffler, I expected. That's what Scotty Scheffler has been doing. When he chipped in on 12 out of the bunker, you're like, all right, here he goes. But I didn't expect any of the live guys to come out and just torch the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me it wasn't a live or PGA thing because we saw live guy. I think in the final tally of last year's Masters, the final 5 were all live players. Now that Rahm eventually left.
Rahm wasn't
at the time. He wasn't, but Phil Brooks. I mean, it was Patrick Reed. I think ended up in the top 5 last year. So those guys had success at Augusta. It wasn't a live or PGA thing. The Dusher being back was entertaining and stupid at the same time. And it was, I unfortunately, I hate going back to this kind of breaking point in the sport, but my biggest takeaway yesterday was, isn't it fun when the biggest names in golf all play and compete against each other in the same tournament?
It's great.
This is what we had. Every week, you could argue golf was in the best spot it has literally ever been in, with as deep of a talent pool as we have ever seen, with as good of players and all sorts of different personalities. You had beefs, you had rivalries, you had guys that didn't like each other. The game was as strong as it had ever been, and now it is not. And I was reminded of that yesterday, seeing Bryson go out and fire a 65, seeing Scotty followed up with a 66, Homa's having an unbelievable opening round that he's about to wrap up soon, which has been really cool. Shout out to all the homosexuals out there. It'd be great to see him win a major championship. But that was kind of my big takeaway was it was so fun, and I just hate that this is now boiled down to 4 times a year that we get this, and that's it.
Leaderboard looks pretty good. El Tigre is going to bogey, it appears, on 18. I believe he'll finish his run at +1. Day kind of threw up all over himself with the final couple holes. Spieth is a disaster right now.
Yeah, he's falling apart. Yeah. Jason Day's outfit yesterday and today is one of the biggest storylines. And
I don't know what's going on there.
He deserves not to be in contention whatsoever.
We just kick him out. Augusta should just send him on his way.
I think it's good. Rory finished in red numbers. He wasn't spectacular, but he's 1 under. So.
His issue there has been the opening round. His Thursdays have been horrible.
So he's in contention. There's 26 players in red numbers right now. So now he can go out and freewheel it.
I know you could do 3 hours on this. I'm well aware of that. I wanted to be conscious of this to start the show because we have Sam Monson at 7. So I want to get right to him at 7. PFF.com. Talk some NFL stuff with him. We've got Joe Freeman of the Oregonian, who now covers Oregon State pretty regularly at 8:15, and we'll Sprague the line at 8:30. I'm sure we will touch back into the Masters, but quickly, each of you, give me a name not in the top 4 or 5 that you think is looming for a little bit of a
I just
round
did.
2.
I think Rory.
You think it's Rory? Okay.
I think he's settled in now. He's got through everything.
Okay.
He's in red numbers.
All
now
right.
Look for him to put the pedal down depending on what the wind does today.
Okay. Can I pick more than one? Is that allowed, or can I only
give
pick one?
Give me like 2 or 3. Yeah,
right,
if you got a couple, give me a couple.
I think there's a chunk of guys in that 2 under range that with the conditions, ball striking is always at a premium there. When you look at the people who win at Augusta, it's the strokes gained, tee to green, who hits the ball the best. That's what matters the most. Corey Connors is always near the top of that list. He was 2 under yesterday.
Almost had a hole-in-one.
Joaquin Niemann is near the top of that as a live guy. We don't watch him much, but he was playing incredible golf coming in. And then the other guy who had his career almost end last year, literally on the Thursday of the Masters, is Will Zalatoris, who got incredibly lucky at times yesterday. For those who watch his opening round, he blew a shot into like the grandstand on 5, but was able to get relief drop, ended up chipping in to save par. He finished at 2 under as well. Those are guys in the windy conditions today with the ball striking that there's easily a 66 in that group, and all of a sudden you're 6 or 7 under going into the weekend.
All right, we'll give you an update on the Masters in the final hour of the radio program, but we have a lot to get to. Let's come back with this. Do we owe this person an apology? But first, Swag with the Sports Update.
Now, Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the 2.5-hour weather delay on Thursday's round one at the Masters, forcing several players to complete their opening 18 holes this morning. That includes Tiger Woods with a bogey on 18, a round of 1 over 73. He will turn around and head out in about 45 minutes for round two. Everyone chasing Bryson DeChambeau, a 7 under 65. He'll head out just before 9 a.m. this morning. Scotty Scheffler, a bogey-free 6 under 66. He'll go out at 10:45. Nikolai Højgaard and Max Homa tied two back at 5 under. Rory McIlroy with a 1 under 71 will play with Scheffler at 10:48 this morning. 2 games to go in the NBA regular season. Every team in action tonight, including your Portland Trailblazers, who could not close out a Warriors team playing without Klay Thompson and Draymond Green Thursday. They lose 192. Rockets are in the Moda Center tonight. Final home game of the season, 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. The Rockets, 5.5-point favorites. Games with the most impact on seeding include the Pelicans at the Warriors at 7. New Orleans trying to hold on to the 6th seed in the West. Then at 7:30, the Suns and Kings in what could be the 8-9 play-in preview. Kentucky has found their next head men's basketball coach and former player Mark Pope, who's been the head coach at BYU the last 5 seasons. That included 2 trips to the NCAA tournament, but no victories. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Sprague. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland Sports Leader. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I've got a what I think is a good idea. Every football season, we Sprague the line. We'll Sprague the line today. We got some things we can gamble on for sure. So get the sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line.
When are we planning to pay off the bet? Have we found the caddy outfit for you yet?
I have not bought a caddy outfit, nor do we have. We don't want to do it without making it content. I think that'd be kind of stupid.
Yes, I understand.
I got some ideas. I know what I got a plan.
Okay,
I got a plan in place. I got a board up.
But I know we all
do.
have a lot going on. Summertime comes, we're all going 18 different directions, and
we're waiting until summer. If this is going to be content, my game's got to be sharpened.
We need to book that tee time as soon as possible. So on the day we all decide we're doing it, we have access to the course we want.
Sure, we'll have access to the course. Don't worry.
Okay,
I got it all figured out.
Okay.
Well, we have a contest. We make our picks.
Yes.
And our new thing is the dead last winner or the dead last loser has to caddy for the winner at any course of the choosing in the full caddy outfit. Carry the bag. Actually try to be a caddy.
Yes.
Now, I don't know how much Dirt's really going to listen to my opinion on things.
You need some reads, man. Get down. I want you down on your belly reading those putts.
It depends on the course. Certain courses, I'll actually feel kind of confident telling you what I think's going to happen. But I have an idea yesterday, I threw at you guys off the air, and I wanted to bring it to the listeners. I think from now on, the loser of that contest is going to be the Mizuhara Cup champion.
Absolutely.
Somebody who is truly awful at gambling, and they were the best at being the worst.
Yes.
Did you see these texts yesterday?
It's unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do we owe an apology? Or are you still kind of like, this is weird?
I mean, I've never been full conspiracy. I just like making fun of him because he's a Dodger, and alluding to him cheating is quite entertaining. Somebody told me to shut my bleep mouth yesterday that was a Dodger fan, and I quite enjoyed that. So I never was quite all in on it. But
there's still a facet to this that I'm still, from Shohei's perspective, if you truly are a victim, how did you not know? Are you literally not paying any attention?
Well, see, that's not the thing. Even for me, if it's not Shohei, I'm not shocked that Shohei doesn't track his bank accounts on a day in and day out basis. It's more so like he has people that's their job. He has money managers. Yeah. He has an accountant. He has an agent. Like, how did none of them notice? And then the other part of it that was really squirrely to me.
There were some weird things on these text messages, I thought.
There was. How was he able to just call the bank and pretend to be Shohei?
He had all the soch. And no offense, but how many white people hear a Japanese guy and go, well, that's him. Come on, let's be honest about that, right?
Well, he was probably with him. If he was his interpreter, he was probably with them. If he was setting up accounts in the United States at places where he needed to speak English, he was probably with him when everything got set up. So,
what didn't he have? He had his social. He probably had password. He had everything. He had the access.
Well, that's the thing. Like, as an interpreter, why do you have his social security number?
Dude, you're not listening to us.
I understand their
best friend.
How many of your best friends know your social security number?
I don't live in another country and can't speak
I don't have a confidant.
Yes.
He was a confidant.
My wife doesn't even know my social security number.
Well, no, but in another situation, your wife might learn it.
If your wife was worth $700 million, you'd know hers.
Yeah. Yes.
Look, I understand. I get the argument. That has been hard for me to wrap my brain around.
Well, okay, so here's an example.
This is a preposterous story.
It's crazy.
Yes.
We could do 3 hours on this story, I think.
Alone.
Okay, so a lot of these texts get released by the feds, okay? Here is the text on March 20th. This is after ESPN and the LA Times reports the situation. These are the text exchanges Mizuhara has with this bookie. Have you seen the reports? He said to the bookie. The bookie responds, yes, but that's all bull S. Obviously, you didn't steal from him. I understand it's a cover job. I totally get it, end quote. The bookie's thinking what we think. Fall guy. Good fall guy. He responds, and this is where it gets weird. You can certainly say, I don't know, man. Sounds like it's an admission of guilt. Absolutely is. But why would you put in text, technically, I did steal from him. It's all over for me.
Yeah.
This is after it's published.
After the story has come out.
After they've laughed in the dugout. After they've probably been notified that this is going to be published. He puts that in text.
Yeah. Little fishy.
Look,
little fishy.
I will say I'm sorry to Shohei Otani publicly. Privately, in my own brain, I've got my own thoughts on a lot of these texts. The other one that Swag and every Dodger fan should be thankful for, it got a little weird. A lot of these texts are funny. This guy's making fun of how bad he is at gambling. I'll pull up most of the texts in the next segment. But one of them that really stood out that I thought got underplayed. The bookie texts Mizuhara, I don't know why you're not returning my calls or my voicemails. I'm looking at your guy walking his dog right now. I should go and just ask him. That's a terrifying thing to hear a bookie say.
What if Shohei Otani just had his kneecaps broken and missed the rest of the season because his interpreter had $40 million in gambling debt?
That's how I read that text.
I'm right
bookie
here.
Wanting his money?
I'm looking at him. I know that's your source of money. I know that's where it's coming from. So you go ahead and pay me now, or I'm going to go pay him a visit. I mean, that's a legitimate threat, and it's terrifying to think on Shohei's part that almost actually happened.
That should have MLB security and Dodgers security.
For
24 hours permanently.
We can get to more of the text because they were fascinating
really
to read
funny
through.
texts,
This
too.
dude is the worst gambler of all time, and oh my God, that bad. There are 3 things that stood out to me. First, there are 2 hilarious baseball stats on this. His gambling debt at the time of all this going down, according to the documents, $40.7 million. That's how much he lost.
That's the cumulative,
overall, the cumulative debt.
Yeah.
You know what the entire A's payroll is this year?
$17 million.
43.2. Just almost got to the whole A's payroll. The other great, hold on, let me find this was another baseball one that I saw.
I know what baseball one you're going to talk about here.
He has spent $182 million on sports betting
since
2021. 2021.
So by the way, think about that. 19,000 bets.
$182 million in 3 years on sports gambling.
Finish it. This is great.
In the last 3 years, John Stanton and the Seattle Mariners have spent $180 million in free agency. He has gambled more money illegally sports betting than the Seattle Mariners have on building a roster through free agency.
They haven't gambled quite as much as Mizuhara, have they?
Well, and the only other thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, but if you win at 54%, then you're making money.
I mean, if he's winning at 54%, do we even find out about this?
No.
Right? He's not $40 million in debt. The only other thing that stood out to me, and we don't need to do the conspiracy thing anymore. I don't think Shohei did this. It's kind of fun to joke, but the idea that you are this irresponsible, that you are this addicted, you have this severe of a problem, that in the last 3 years you gambled $182 million and you're $40 million in the hole, and you never once put a bet on baseball?
Not once.
The one sport where you actually have a modicum of inside information.
The only thing I will
not
say,
one bet on a run line, money line, total.
The only thing I will say to that is
$180 million. Not one.
His interpreter was in all of those meetings about gambling, and I'm sure Major League Baseball monitors.
I'm glad his morals went out there.
Well, no, I think it has to do more with getting caught. Major League Baseball has monitors on baseball games and isn't really as concerned. That's how they caught Murray.
Yep.
Because they're the NBA Porter, sorry.
Yeah.
They're specifically watching NBA game actions. They get reports from NBA games.
His props were going through the roof.
So I think that was more self-preservation of, okay, MLB's not monitoring this other stuff. They are monitoring this, and I'm more likely to get caught if I do something fishy here that's out of whack.
Only person more upset that Jake Haener beat him than Chip Kelly was Mizuhara because he gambled on UCLA to win that game against Fresno State, and he lost.
They gambled on recover, and they lost outright as a favorite at home.
So if you're the big loser of your gambling weekend with your friends, it's officially titled the Mizuhara Cup Champion.
And I think the loser next year should have to complete a Babel course then.
Japanese is hard, man.
Well, I'm not to pick a language. I'm not going to make you do that, but
I actually just started Spanish.
There you go.
Look at you.
Do that.
Yeah. Hola.
Duolingo.
¿Cómo estás? Yeah. Muy bien, y tú?
Yeah, you say that in such a white voice.
That's all I got, man.
Cerveza.
Como estás?
I'm destined to be my dad at a Mexican restaurant 10 years from now.
Cuatro.
Gracias.
Oh, no.
Por favor.
Don't you get nervous?
More chips. Gracias. God, that's not how you say it. It's not how it sounds.
Guacamole.
That's not how it goes.
No, that's not. No,
don't do that.
Let's read some of these texts on the other side. Just truly the worst sports gambler of all time. It is a Sprague and Line Friday, so we'll get to more of that next on The Fan. All right, we got Sam Monson coming up at 7, so let's dive back into the Otani and Mizuhara gambling debt situation. Yesterday, the texts were released, and it seems Otani completely innocent in all of this. This will go away for him, and Mizuhara looks like he's facing some serious stuff here with all this money that he's basically taken from Shohei and given to this bookie.
Does he sing like a canary so they can get the bookmaker? Aren't the feds really after the bookmaker?
I would hope so.
I think that's how they initially found this, was they were tracking this illegal bookmaker, and they saw the wire transfers from Shohei Otani, and they thought, excuse me?
I mean, this dude needs to go get help. He clearly has a gambling addiction. But is this somebody I want? Well, I guess you could certainly make a claim, dude, when you steal that kind of money from somebody who's so unaware of what's going on.
Well, he'll never be an interpreter again.
$16 million he stole from him.
You're right. Go to the clink for 5 years. Learn your lesson.
But I'm sure he'll cut a deal if they can get the big fish.
The text just basically highlight how bad he was. Can I get a bump for $50K? The bookmaker would give him $50K. Hey, I lost it all. Can I get another bump?
He's like Worm from Rounders.
He really,
he absolutely is. He kept texting him over and over. This is the last time, I promise. If I don't win this round of bets, it's all over. That text was in the reporting like 15 times.
Can we also say, and I know gambling, the percentages say what you're going to be largely. I know he lost $40 million in total. Can we at least acknowledge that could have been significantly worse? He's the worst gambler I've ever seen in my life. That could have been $100 million.
Yeah. He won $140 million in winnings. Is that what you're saying?
That was my takeaway. At least it was only $40 million that you lost and not $100 million that you lost.
When you wager $180 million.
That's not your money.
That's not your money. It could have been worse. And almost every single one of those bets is just made on a line of credit, right? Like he's not fronting the $12,000.
It's because he's Otani's guy.
Exactly. And then he would make minimum payments, and that's how it built up to the $16 million. I just love when you're that bad at something, not having the realization of maybe $12,000 a bet isn't a good idea.
He couldn't walk away.
On sports, you clearly don't understand. He didn't know.
So if he won $140 million, there was $320 million total handle changing hands. That's rough math, about a 44% winning percentage.
I mean, imagine that's 20.
Yeah.
I mean, Otani's got to be like, man, I'm glad that was only 40. He admits, too, to being bad. He texts the bookmaker, I'm terrible at the sports betting thing, huh? LOL. ... Any chance you can bump me again? As you know, you don't have to worry about me not paying.
Jesus, man. Imagine losing that much money and then adding an LOL to a text message.
He also added, can you bump me my last 200? I swear on my mom, this will be the last ask before I pay it off once I get back to the States. Sorry to keep on asking.
Narrator, it was not the last time.
The bookmaker says, no problem. Done, bud. Merry Christmas.
These guys were perfectly happy as long he was making like $500,000 a week payments to try and pay down some of this debt that he was accruing. So they were completely fine fronting it. Like, you want to keep placing bets? This guy's an absolute idiot. He's printing money for this illegal bookie down in California.
I want to get to Monson on time, so we got about a minute here, Swag. As quickly as you can. As a Dodger fan, you got to have to kind of be pretty ecstatic that most of this just makes your guy seem like a total Nimrod. Unaware Nimrod.
Yes.
Right?
As far as what the other outcomes could have been.
Yeah.
Yes. And as an organization, now I am doing everything I can to surround Otani with the people of the highest moral regard that you can find as far as what he needs support around him, whether it's trainers, his interpreter, his everything else that he needs. You don't want anything else sniffing around because he had a slow start to the season, so don't tell me this wasn't weighing on his mind.
Absolutely.
It's a massive story.
It's a massive distraction, a huge embarrassment for him.
It is. He looks like an idiot today.
Yes.
Like an unaware idiot.
Yes.
Having to do that press conference could not have been easy for him. And now, as baseball fans, we can get back to moving on from Japanese Pete Rose and going back to making fun of how they somehow hired Nike to make uniforms through Fanatics that don't have regulation lettering on the back, and half the teams don't even have half their jerseys.
Did you see the pants rip on that player who slid into home 2 days ago?
It's an absolute embarrassment. And this Japanese Pete Rose thing for like 2 weeks distracted all of us, and now we're back to remembering, like, You're a professional sports league. This isn't beer league softball. Half the teams don't even have their alternate jerseys that they usually wear on Sundays or Friday nights or whatever. They don't even have them. How do you not have jerseys in time?
Baseball, man. I don't know.
Well done, Rob Manfred. Well done.
Over under 10 Dodger jerseys in 2 months that we would see at Chavez Ravine. That's the number 17, but no Otani. It says Victim A. Because that's a hilarious sports jersey to own.
How many numbers can you put on a custom jersey? It'd be great to do like a minus 40 million number and then Mizuhara on the back.
Loaded second hour of the show. Sam Monson, PFF. They've got a great draft simulator you can play with all throughout the process. And he's going to join us to talk about what he's noticed in some of the conversation, some of the prospects. Sam Monson, PFF, kicks off hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Colin Cowherd, always live on the Odyssey app, is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan.
Gunslinger, making it up as you go.
An Odyssey station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080, The Fan.
First on The Fan, the last group finishing up round 1 this morning at Augusta after the 2.5-hour weather delay on Thursday. Tiger Woods finished up this morning with a couple of bogeys, a 1 over 73, and he is set to go back out in round 2 in about 15 minutes. Everyone chasing Bryson DeChambeau after his 7 under 65 set the pace. Scotty Scheffler won back a bogey-free 6 under 66 on the course right now. Cam Davis in round 2, 2 under through 6 today. He is at 5 under, tied with Nikolai Hogard and Max Homa. Rory McIlroy looking for the career Grand Slam, 1 under. He'll tee off today at 10:45. Blazers couldn't close out the Warriors Thursday night, and they were not playing Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Steph Curry was just enough for a 192 win. The Rockets are in Moda Center tonight for the final home game of the regular season, 7 o'clock on Root Sports Plus. Houston, 5.5-point favorites. Games with the most impact on seeding include the Pelicans at Warriors at 7 o'clock. New Orleans trying to seal the 6th seed in the West. At 7:30, the Suns and Kings in what could be an 8-9 play-in preview. College baseball tonight on 910 ESPN Portland. 20th-ranked Oregon hosting USC in the first of a 3-game weekend series. First pitch 5:05, pregame at 4:45. Top 5 ranked Oregon State will welcome Stanford to Corvallis. A 6:05 first pitch. You can see that one on the Pac-12 Oregon channel. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The home of prime time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan.
One day, some of the kids from the neighborhood carried my mother's groceries all the way home. You know why? It was out of respect.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
The most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family, never forgetting where we came from. So you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody or you're nobody.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
A month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late, man. Start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer again with you.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Me, I always tell the truth, even when I lie. So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. The last time you're going to see a bad guy like this again. Let me tell you.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and YouTube.com. Good morning, YouTube. Hello, Internet. A lot to get to in the second hour. We kick off hour number 2 with our good friend. Haven't had him on in a while. He's a busy man. Pro Football Focus's very own Sam Monson, lead analyst for Pro Football Focus, PFF.com, and co-host of the Pro Football Focus NFL pod. You go to PFF.com right now, Dirt. You can do a mock simulated draft with your team.
I did like 5 of them yesterday.
I mean, how do you not?
Once you do one, it's kind of addicting, and you want to keep doing it over and over and over again.
Sam, thanks for joining us. Good morning to you. I actually want to give you guys credit. We reference PFF all the time. We have a lot of you guys from PFF on the show. I believe you guys have finally found the NBA equivalent to the trade machine, but in the draft with the mock simulator. How much do you play with it?
Oh, yeah, it's extremely fun. You end up spending all day just going, dialing in on a particular team and going, all right, let's fix the Browns today with the mock draft sim, and spending half your morning just dialing it up in various different ways. It's fun.
When you look, every mock you do is going to turn out differently. To me, it's always fascinating to talk about quarterbacks in the first round, which guys are worthy of first-round picks, which guys are going to be reached for because teams are desperate for that. If you were a betting man right now, how many quarterbacks do you say go in the first round? And of those guys, how many of them in your mind are actually worthy of being a first-round pick?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're going to get 4 quarterbacks go in the top 10. Maybe one of those teams that needs a quarterback in sort of pick 11, 12, 13, I think it is, the Vikings, Raiders, Denver Broncos, a little trio there. Maybe those teams have the patience to wait it out and let one of the guys slide outside of the top 10, but I doubt it. I think someone's going to have to jump on that 4th guy higher up. And then it's a case of, does a 5th one end up in the first round? Does somebody pull the trigger on probably Michael Penix Jr. from Washington or Bo Nix from Oregon, and we get 5 in the first round? I think probably it just stays with the 4. We're going to get those 4 guys go early, and then teams are going to be reticent to grab the next one. But that's the question. We know we're going to get 4 taken in the first round. They're going to go pretty high, and then it's a case of, do we get that 5th with a team that's desperate enough?
Is there a quarterback amongst that you've seen some tape, you talk to people that for you're not necessarily connecting with, or do you like all 4?
No, it's funny. I think outside of Caleb Williams, I think there's a lot of question marks about this quarterback group. I think we are seeing a kind of product of the desperation of teams that need them. We know Washington is taking a quarterback. They need to. They're sitting there at 2. They traded away their guy, the one that they had last season, so they desperately need a starter. It's coming from this draft. the Patriots, similar kind of boat. You know, they already traded away Mac Jones. They're starting afresh. We know that's happening. Denver, same thing with Russell Wilson. The Minnesota Vikings, they lost Kirk Cousins. So these teams, it's an unusual draft, I think, for teams that have already committed to getting rid of the guy they already had in the building and moving in a different direction. So that has to come from the draft, and it has to come from high up in the draft if you want to be confident in the player you're getting. So I think that's driving this sort of inflation or this reputation of this draft class. But the more I look at it, Caleb Williams is by far the best guy of the group. He's the number one prospect, and I think he is a legit, top-tier quarterback in any given draft class. But the rest of them, I think, all have pretty reasonable concerns. We're starting to see that more and more as the draft goes through, with Drake May in particular. He seems to be getting kind of picked apart by the industrial draft complex, by the machine. It's not really getting to Jaden Daniels as much, or J.J. McCarthy, but I think all three of those guys have some fairly scary flaws that would concern me if I was a team that wasn't picking number one overall.
I love that, the industrial draft complex. That we're going to steal that line. That is fantastic. I saw Jim Harbaugh had a quote the other day saying, if this turns out the way that it could, we might end up with what is the number one overall pick in the draft, because they don't need a quarterback in LA and they're number 5. And if you get 4, they go right off the bat. They get their pick of the litter, everybody else. Is it as simple to say the Chargers or somebody else, but who benefits the most from maybe this run on quarterbacks early, of a player at a certain position falling to a team of need, or the Chargers trading out? Like, who do you think ends up benefiting the most in the top 10, because we might have this run on quarterbacks at the top?
Yeah, I think he's right. I mean, any of those teams that are picking in the second half of the top 10 are all looking at this and loving that idea. I mean, Tennessee potentially could benefit the most if, Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame, he might be the top player on Tennessee's board, given their need on the offensive line and given what they want to do to set up Will Levis for success. It's possible that Joe Alt ends up being there at 7, when in a different draft, he would be maybe the number 2 overall pick as the first guy off the board after a quarterback had been selected. So, Tennessee, if they somehow manage to get that guy landing at number 7 because 4 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be an absolute dream for them. Any of these guys looking for a top wide receiver prospect as well. There's 3, I think, in this draft, that top trio of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. One of those guys might be available at the bottom of the top 10 that wouldn't be there normally because of this run of quarterbacks.
Sam Monson, our guest here, lead analyst for Pro Football Focus NFL Pod, PFF.com. You can do the draft simulator. Go make a mock draft of any team, your favorite team, other teams. Sam mentions the Browns just out of curiosity. How can we make the Browns better? Kind of a two-parter. Your thoughts, I know you probably had initial thoughts, but your thoughts now being about a week removed from the Bills trading Stephon Diggs, what you thought of that, and the kind of no-brainer position you think Buffalo, because it feels like Buffalo's going to trade up and draft a receiver. Do you have that same feeling? Is there an obvious spot for you that would make sense for them to move up to?
Yeah, I mean, the reaction to the trade is they must have wanted that guy out of the building pretty desperately. This was not a move that happened as part of a plan. You look at the contract that they'd signed into, the extension, they had to eat $31 million of dead cap money to make this happen. This was not something that was planned from the outset. This wasn't the way it was always going to go down. And neither was the trade offer too good to turn down. Like, this wasn't something that just dropped in their lap and they went, well, we weren't planning on trading Stephon Diggs, but this trade is too good to turn down. They eventually just snapped and reached a point where they said, we have to get rid of this guy, and it has to be now. And so it's put them in this position where they really don't have anything like a top-tier wide receiver, and their first pick is 28. So you're right. The speculation is they're going to go on the move and try and fill that need and try and make it happen and try and trade up in the draft. It's a tough spot because we talked about that big trio of wide receivers probably all being gone in the top 10. So either they have to trade a long way from 27 overall up into the top 10 somewhere to get one of those guys, which seems almost prohibitively expensive. Obviously, the Falcons did that, a decade ago for Julio Jones, and it worked out pretty well for them. But that was a lot that they traded up, and the guy basically needs to be Julio Jones to justify the cost of what you give up in draft picks. The alternative is they trade up a little bit and go after wide receiver 4, whoever that is. It's Brian Thomas Jr. on most people's boards. I'm not as high on Brian Thomas as most, but trading up to that spot and try and secure the fourth best guy would be an option. I honestly think, though, the best thing they can do, the best way of playing the odds, is to just sit there at 27, draft a wide receiver, and then draft a couple more later in the draft. I mean, they have 11 selections, I think, this year. 3 of them should go on wide receivers. Like, just play the odds and try and roll the dice as many times as possible. And maybe it's not the top guy that ends up being something good. It's the guy you get in the 3rd round or the 5th round. I mean, last year, Dontavian Wicks was the best young receiver that the Packers had, and I think he was the 3rd pass catcher that they selected in that draft.
We might be a little biased here. I think Neighbors is excellent. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. for most kind of stands at the top. But we got to watch a lot of Rome Odunze out here. He was a nightmare for every team that we rooted for and every other team in the conference he played in. I tend to believe, I don't know if my co-host does, I think he's wide receiver too. Where are you at on Neighbors Odunze in the wide receiver power rankings of takes that might be wrong, but we won't think about it once their career gets going?
I think all 3 of those guys are special. Like, I think in most years, all 3 of those receivers would be the first receiver off the board. And it takes, a special year like this where the 3 of them are showing up at the same time. But, last year, any of those guys would be wide receiver 1. They would be the top receiver in that draft class. And in most draft classes, I think that would be the case. So I tend to stick with the sort of conventional order, actually. I tend to rank it Marvin Harrison, Neighbors, and then Odunze. But I really do think it's a razor-thin margin between all 3 of them. And I certainly wouldn't disagree with anybody that wanted to rank them in a different order. I think it's really close. And if you get one of those guys, as a wide receiver needy team, you've done extremely well.
You mentioned Sam Howell a couple of moments ago, and he's obviously in Seattle now, and they had Geno Smith, who was a really good story 2 years ago, and then not quite the same last year. And there's a lot of needs on Seattle's roster, there's no doubt. If John Schneider called you and said, hey, do you think we should take a quarterback in the 1st round or kind of wait and see how it goes maybe in later rounds and maybe get one next year or later in the draft, what would the advice be on Seattle on that position?
I certainly wouldn't draft one in the 1st round. I think given where the Seahawks are picking, there's just not going to be a guy available at that spot that you have confidence in, being a franchise quarterback and being someone that completely transforms the fortunes of the team. I wouldn't be averse to taking one. I mean, Spencer Rattler is everybody's favorite kind of mid-round prospect in this draft, the guy that actually I think has NFL starting tools, but, has not necessarily played at that level throughout his entire career, lost his job to Caleb Williams at Oklahoma, had to kind of rebuild his career at South Carolina. He's got the capacity, the potential is there for him to develop into something, but that's why you take those guys in the mid rounds, because you're not confident that it's going to happen, but it's worth the roll of the dice somewhere. So I think Seattle coming out of this draft with a quarterback certainly makes sense, just not in the 1st round.
Get you out of here in this one, Sam, because we appreciate your time. Penix and Nix, 2 other guys we got to watch a lot of. They don't look like, I believe they both were not invited to the green room because they don't project high enough and they don't want an Aaron Rodgers situation looming. Penix and Nix, where are you at on both of them? Is there a franchise quarterback there? Or are these, good starters who may end up becoming backs? How do you project out Penix and Nix?
Yeah, a couple of guys I think that each have question marks, very different, but they all have the potential to be starters. Nix, he's a unique prospect because we literally never seen a player play that much in college. I mean, he started over 60 games in college. And there's so much bad on his tape, from Auburn before he became good, that I think it really sort of harms him in the eyes of many. Like, if we had just seen the most recent stuff and he was a couple of years younger and he'd only been in college for, a couple of seasons, then I think his stock would be a lot higher. But with so deep into his career and so much bad on his tape, I think teams and a lot of evaluators are just kind of reticent to give him the full credit for what we've seen recently. And then Michael Penix, he's had such a roller coaster of a draft process, because I think if you take away the national championship game, I think we're talking about this guy maybe in that top 10 conversation with the other 4 quarterbacks. And then we had that game. It was so much worse than everything that had gone before it. And it's a case of how much do you weigh that? It's almost the reverse of what happened last year with C.J. Stroud, where the best thing we had seen from him was the most recent game. It was the Georgia game where he answered every question that everybody had about him as a prospect. And the question was, how much do you weigh that one game against a greater body of work that didn't look the same? Penix is the same thing, but the one game is negative. And I think people are leaning on that a lot because it's harder in the NFL. And that game looked a lot more like what Sundays look like for a lot of quarterbacks, where they're under pressure a lot more. Their offensive line doesn't necessarily hold up as well as it did every other game, and they have to deal in adverse circumstances, and Penix didn't perform well in those circumstances. So I think he's definitely got first-round ability, but he's being held back a lot by how badly his career ended in that one game.
Yeah, good stuff. Sam Monson, PFF, PFF.com _PFF Sam. You can find the mock simulator draft at PFF.com. Sam, we always appreciate the time. Thank you very much, sir.
Anytime, guys. Take it easy.
All right, there you go. Sam Monson, ProFootballFocus.com with his thoughts. I got something that you asked him that he talked about. I want to carry it over, so we'll get to that coming up. We got Joe Freeman at 8:15 today. He'll jump on. We'll do an Oregon State baseball check-in. Big series against Stanford. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30. Dirt and Sprague back with more on 1080 The Fan.
The College Gridiron Reset.
hallelujah, it's Friday, 'cause I've been working all week.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I got an NFL draft takeaway from our interview with Sam Monson. If you missed that interview, 1080thefan.com. We will load it up there. You see some of the clips circulating on the internet yesterday of Conan O'Brien on Hot Ones?
No.
Do you watch Hot Ones?
I do occasionally.
Chicken
Not
wing
like
show?
a religious viewer of it, but if there's somebody interesting, I'll go watch it.
Well, he's severely white, red hair, Irish guy doing hot chicken wing challenge. You can imagine how that worked.
A lot of funny faces from old Conan.
It's probably my favorite episode.
I did see that he was back on the Tonight Show for the first time since he was fired with Jimmy Fallon the other night.
Well, he has a new show to plug on Max.
Oh, he's got a new show coming out.
Yes.
His storyline in the latest season of Curb was kind of an underrated, funny clearance, no clearance.
Yep.
You're like, what's Conan going to do here? And then it played well.
Didn't have Conan on the hierarchy higher than Larry David, but I liked that they played into that.
Yeah. Can I get Conan clearance, please?
We'll get to some random NFL thing that came out yesterday. We'll give you an update on the Masters. Sprague the line at 8:30, Joe Freeman 8:15. You asked a question about Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. We played a clip on Wednesday. Dante Whitner, former 49er who played for Harbaugh, says he thinks the Chargers are going to be in the AFC title game next year. And everybody laughs at that and says, really? Which I always find that odd that that's our reaction.
It's the NFL, man.
Right. Who had the Lions 2 years ago doing what they're doing.
Sure.
I was going to ask Sam this question. We ran out of time. There's going to be a handful of teams that benefit from the usual every year stupidity of others. We see this teams that know how to build. Okay, well, we don't really value these guys. We're going to trade down. You want him so bad? Give us some stuff. The Bears did this very beautifully against the Panthers.
Now they have number 1 and number 9.
I think, aside from Harbaugh's resume, Dirt, I think one of the biggest wins for Herbert and Herbert fans and Duck fans that are Charger fans now, the Swigards of the world who abandoned their team to join the Charger Nation, I think one of the more underrated is Jim Harbaugh understands what's important. No matter what level or team he plays for, he understands I know how to win and where I need to win. That team might not make the AFC title game, but they're going to damn sure, I think, benefit from the stupidity or desperation of other teams. I think it's a lock they're drafting an offensive lineman. I think they're not picking at 5. And if I'm wrong on any of this, okay, I'm wrong. But I've seen Jim Harbaugh build in college and the NFL. And I think he is going to benefit greatly from the desperation that's going to leak out on draft day of, we got to get our quarterback. Herbert and company should be really interested and excited about what Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, I think, are going to do on draft day.
I mean, Harbaugh is spot on. He said we might end up with the number 1 pick in the draft, and he's not wrong because they don't need a quarterback. And so if you end up with this run, which I still lean that we're going to see it. I think the Bears are they're definitely taking Caleb Williams. Washington is without a doubt taking a quarterback, likely Jaden Daniels. I think the Pats are going to be in panic mode, and they're going to take a quarterback at 3. But I don't agree with the move, but I think that's what they're going to do.
Trade out. You're not a quarterback away.
I agree. They should. If they were smart, they would. But even if they end up trading out somebody who moves up to number 3, what are they going to take? You're not moving up to number 3 to take Marvin Harrison Jr. You're taking a quarterback. So whether it's New England or somebody else, I think that's what you get. Arizona's the only wild card there. Do you get somebody that desperate to go get who is likely going to end up being J.J. McCarthy at number 4? Because I imagine Drake May will go number 3.
Aren't they screaming we're trading out? Their GM's like openly joking about the phone call stuff.
They're desperately trying, I think. If not, I mean, I'm sure they're okay taking Marvin Harrison Jr. It seems like that's the intel on who they want to go get. But I still believe the first 4 picks are going to be quarterbacks. And so then if you're the Chargers at 5, you have the choose your own adventure of trading down and getting more picks, which I think is the right move for them because they have a lot of holes to fill. And then taking the best offensive lineman in the draft, or if Marvin Harrison is still there, you take an elite wide receiver. Like, you got so many different directions that you can go. I tend to agree with you that offensive line is where they will go. Jim Harbaugh has made that point evident and clear over and over and over again, how important the offensive line is, how you win games at the line of scrimmage. The most important asset on their team is their quarterback, and they need to keep him upright. They need to be able to run the football. They have not been able to do that the last 3 years. They kind of hold the cards to really what the entire draft is going to turn into after number 5. And that's a real good position of power for them. You can look over the last 10 drafts, see all the dumb teams that took quarterbacks who weren't worthy of top 5 picks, and then look at the 3 or 4 picks after that and see, oh, that guy slipped there because that team was stupid, or that team ended up with that guy because they reached for a guy who wasn't worthy of a top 5 pick, and the Chargers might end up benefiting this April.
So a couple notes. I mentioned it in one of the questions there. We've never had 4 quarterbacks drafted consecutively in draft history.
Really?
It's a prop that a lot of people want to gamble on. Maybe this is the first year it happens. We've also never had 5 quarterbacks taken in round 1, so I would not be gambling on the over of 4 or 4.5, whatever that number is set at. Penix and Nix both received no invitation to the green room because they survey this. They don't want Rodgers, Will Levis situations to happen often.
No, guys sitting around all night.
Neither one of them projected on the Scout anonymous poll as 15 to 20 guys. And if you don't check that box, they don't want you in the green room because they don't want the camera on you. And, oh, can you believe this guy's still waiting?
He's
and
still sitting here.
Makes everybody feel awful, right? Watching and the player involved. And I thought, that's great news. That's great news. I know they want to be in the green room. They want to be on the stage. They want the spotlight. Couldn't be better news, I think. I don't know if either one of them are capable of being franchise guys. I like Penix a lot. Nix I can see being a career backup and like a good backup. Like Case Keenum. He comes in. No, I don't mean that as a slight.
I know you don't at all.
It kind of carry it for 7-8 weeks, keep the team afloat. That's best case scenarios to me, but the NFL says we're not sure, and they could end up landing in just the right situation.
Yeah, that's why I asked the Seahawks question there, because I find them interesting. They're one of these teams that we would all agree probably doesn't have their franchise quarterback on the roster. Maybe Sam Howell surprises everybody.
I don't believe it to be the case.
I don't believe it to be the case. Geno Smith was a really fun story 2 years ago. You're just limited in what you can do when Geno Smith is your quarterback. Maybe they view it as, hey, let's plug other holes. We can address this at some point down the road. Maybe it's a trade. Maybe in years to come we trade up and try and get a guy. But the revelation yesterday that Nix and Penix weren't invited does tell me the same thing it tells you, and that's why I asked that question. If Michael Penix is sitting there at 16, I still don't believe he will. I think somebody else is going to panic in that like 10 to 12 range. Like, you got to get through. If the top 3 teams don't trade out, you're going to likely have somebody trade up to 4. In that mix, so you have the Vikings who need a quarterback, the Broncos who need a quarterback, the Raiders who need a quarterback. You could argue the Saints probably need a quarterback. He might not be there, but if he's there at 16 and you're Seattle, you have to be at least somewhat tempted to make that move, do you not?
Yeah, but here's where I'll counter that. I'm tempted, yes, to answer that question.
Because I thought his point on Penix in the title game was a way that I hadn't really thought about it.
Oh,
and it was very interesting.
Yeah.
He was not good in that game.
No, he wasn't.
Seemed overwhelmed. It wasn't his fault, solely that they lost.
Yes.
They got dominated at the line of scrimmage, but he looked really bad in their biggest game of the season. And if he had played well that night, how different is the discourse about him right now?
Him and Daniels, obviously varying degrees of prospect, but both suffering from the same thing. You had a good target. Maybe that's a penalty against you.
Yeah, but we're not holding it against Jaden Daniels. He's going to go number 2 overall.
No, well, some people are. Monson's right. They're picking these guys apart now, and even Caleb's gotten a little bit of it, but for the most part, that's a done deal. Daniels, May, McCarthy, they're all being picked apart, as we would expect. The thing about Seattle that I find is interesting, I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. I think they can benefit the most, I think, from this desperation. By the way, you could have up to 18 to 19 quarterback receivers or skill position guys taken in the first round. Like, we could be looking at that kind of situation. And my thing on it is, can Seattle benefit from that? Can they be the team who clearly needs pass rushing, right? Well, the pass rushers might fall to you.
They could.
So why panic and think you got to draft a guy when you can maybe get him in the second round? I'd have to go back and look at their draft picks because I'm forgetting top of my head.
Seattle is at 16 in the first round.
Yeah.
I'll pull up the second round.
Okay.
See where they show up.
But my point is, why panic and draft a quarterback when you might have some of the best other stuff fall right in your lap.
Yeah, I don't think Seattle has who did they trade their second-round pick for? I don't remember.
I'm forgetting.
But they don't have a second-round pick.
Okay, thank you. But even trading down from 16 wouldn't shock me. And then they get a
wouldn't shock
second-round
me
pick.
at all either. And this is, again, I know you end up, when you talk about quarterbacks in the draft, you end up talking out of both sides of your mouth.
I know.
Right? Because I look at a lot of these teams in the top 5, and I'm like, why would you take a guy there? And then out of the other side of my mouth, I'm like, well, Seattle's 9-8. They were a playoff team 2 years ago, almost made the playoffs this past year. If not now, the question that I have for Seattle is when.
But Penix
and how
Knicks,
do you do that?
Yeah, Penix and Knicks would be a reach just on the optics of the draft right now. It'd be a reach.
And I would agree on Knicks being a reach. I don't know if I would agree on Penix being a reach.
Because of the OC stuff?
The OC stuff is part of it. Yeah, I mean, there's a familiarity there. I don't understand the Penix thing. I don't get it.
What do you mean?
I don't understand why he's not lumped in with these other guys.
Because he's older? Because he has the ACL injury?
See, I don't view the age as a disappointment. I don't like the quarterback careers are less than 5 years on average. These guys flame out. So who cares if he's 23?
Yes.
Can he make it to year 5? Let's worry about 10 years down the road, 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
He's experienced. He's incredibly accurate. One of the most accurate college quarterbacks that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Yes, he played in a perfect system. Yes, he had elite wide receivers. So did Jaden Daniels. I don't understand it. I don't understand why Jaden Daniels, who I felt like at times was a glorified running back, is the clear-cut home run. He's got to go number 2. But Michael Penix, who led a team to an undefeated season, reshaped his entire career as one of the most prolific and terrifying quarterbacks that I've ever had to see my team go against, is not a first-round pick.
Yes.
Because he had a knee injury 3 years ago.
Right.
I can't quite square that. I agree and understand everything that you're saying. I just think the fascinating question for these teams is, if you're Seattle and you don't make that move at 16, when do you? So okay, you want to trade down, you want to get more assets, that's fine. Are you going to make any noise in the NFL with Geno Smith as your quarterback next year?
Ian Furness would say yes.
Okay, and I disagree with him there. Are you going to make noise with Sam Howell as your quarterback?
Definitely not.
I would say no. So, okay, you want to build your roster out a little bit better, that's fine. I understand the argument. Then you trade up next year? When do you – that is the most important position on the field. And at some point, you got to make a move to address it. No. And I'm fascinated to see when they decide to pull that trigger.
I don't disagree with a single thing. And oh, by the way, the system works when the quarterback is elite. And Penix was elite in the system. Let's compare the Alabama system this year with DeBoer to the 2 years that Penix had at UW with DeBoer, and then go, oh, maybe there was a bit of a difference there.
We did that with Burrow, man. He's got Joe Brady. He's got all these elite wide receivers. Is this going to translate? Yeah, I think it translated.
This guy's back in the news because, well, he hasn't heard his name in a while, so he's flirting with something. We'll get to that. We Sprague line at 8:30. Joe Freeman at 8:15 on Oregon State baseball. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first Swag with the sports update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living design. Schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan. Round 1 of the Masters finally complete. The 2.5-hour weather delay Thursday forced it to be finished this morning. Not good for certain players. Tiger Woods bogeying 2 holes of the 5 that he had to make up. He's +1 at 73. Worse for other players like Jordan Spieth. Bryson DeChambeau, your first-round leader, 7 under. He'll tee off just before 9 a.m. this morning. Scotty Scheffler, after a 6 under 66, 1 back. He'll tee off at 10:48. Nikolai Højgaard of Denmark on the course. He's 5 under. Max Homa is 5 under, teeing off in just a moment. And then it'll be Cam Davis, former winner Danny Willett at 4 under par. Blazers play their final game at Moda Center this season tonight against the Rockets. They're 5.5-point underdogs. They are 1 game ahead of the Spurs in the race for the 4th worst record in the league. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. The games with the most impact on seeding include the Pelicans at the Warriors at 7. New Orleans trying to hold on to the 6th seed in the West. At 7:30, the Suns and Kings square off in what could be a preview of the 8-9 play-in game. Kentucky found their next head men's basketball coach and former player Mark Pope, who's been the head coach at BYU the last 5 seasons. It includes 2 trips to the NCAA tournament, but no tournament victories. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey. The Fan.
All right, we'll get to some fun with audio in a moment. Also, how's this fan base feeling? That needs to be discussed this morning. Joe Freeman coming up at 8:15. Keep your Sprague the Line sponsors in. People are asking if we're doing Ipaying the Line. Is that how we would say it? Ipe? Is that his first name?
Oh, the Mizuhara guy?
Yeah.
Ipe.
Ipe
Mizuhara.
Ipaying the Line? Yeah, it doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Well, I don't know if he's as bad as me. You know, if I give me $180 million to gamble, would I hit at 40%? I don't think I would.
I think you would.
All right.
I'm giving you the nod. Better gambler.
19,000 bets. Here we go.
I'm giving you the tip of the cap. Here we go again. Did anybody miss Brett Favre in the NFL? Because we have him on our hands again.
Not the quarterback I thought we were talking about here. And no, I have not missed Brett Favre. Is he stolen from more poor people? Or?
No, he has not stolen from any more poor people.
Didn't he have to go to jail?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a conclusion on that yet. He's in Mississippi. He'll probably end up being just fine.
You know the Goldmans never got $1 from OJ, and they never get anything from his estate because he has pensions, and those are protected?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Makes sense, right? Seems fair. Seems like a good system.
Accountability in America.
Well, Brett Favre famously, when he retired, could not retire. He kept coming back. He retired as a Packer, and then he went to the Jets. Oh, no, I'm done. Then he ended up in Minnesota. He could not give up. Yeah. And our calendars, really in the early summer months to late summer months, for like 4 straight years was asking and tracking, what is Brett Favre going to do? Is he going to play?
It was a tradition, Dirt, unlike any other as the Masters is going on, to get Ed Werder in Mississippi.
Yes.
That was always the tradition at the end of August.
The private jet has landed here, and it's got a Minnesota Viking logo on it. That was every single year. Well, Tom Brady was this. He was going to retire, and then JK, I'm not retired. And then remember, he sent out the video on the beach. He sat on the beach retiring. And then a bunch of Brady stands went and picked up the sand from where he was sitting, and they're going to sell that for a lot of money someday.
Well, a gal made, I think, like $300,000 from that sand.
So ridiculous.
I'm so upset I never thought of that.
Tom Brady was recently on the Deep Cut podcast. I believe it's a podcast.
It is. It's a YouTube show as well.
Okay, YouTube show.
It's a barber with a guy in a chair, and they just interview.
Okay, while you're getting your hair cut?
I don't mind it. It's a good concept if you're a barber.
How did his plugs look as they were getting cut?
Yeah, I don't know if the haircutting thing changes when you get the fake hair. Google Tom Brady hairline rookie year. You'll clearly tell there's a difference there. But
he's going to be bald as a cue ball by 27, and now he's got a thick, luscious mane.
He's got a great head of hair now.
That bastard. He was asked about the NFL and just kind of where he's heading, his role with the Raiders, broadcasting and all that. But then also the idea of like, hey, if something opened up, if a team called you, would you be interested in it? And he said, quote, I'm not opposed to it. Oh, do we actually have the audio? Oh, okay. Go ahead. Fire it off.
Let's say one day there's a situation, right? Maybe it's the 49ers, maybe, heading to the playoffs. Offense is great.
Patriots,
somebody,
Raiders,
look,
could be, you never know.
God forbid somebody goes down. Would you pick up that phone?
I'm not opposed to it. If they would, I don't know if they're going to let me if I become an owner in an NFL team, but I don't know if, I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape, always be able to throw the ball. So to come in for a little bit, like MJ coming back, I don't know if they let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
46 years old. He's been retired for what? One season, right? One full season.
Yeah.
We made it one full
How
season.
Old? Didn't Steve DeBerg come out of mothballs at one point when he was like 47?
Mothballs. I'm going to look at oldest NFL players of all time. Now, there's going to be a punter in there.
George Blanda was probably 50 when he was
50,
kicking, but I don't know when the last time he took a snap as a quarterback was.
Are you buying it, though?
I absolutely am buying it.
Is it something you throw on a podcast and you get people like us to talk about it so Tom Brady's trending for a day?
Yeah.
This is good for TB12.
It is good for TB12. You're not wrong there.
I missed him last year.
You missed him last year? Not having old Thomas out there?
I think we're lying to ourselves if we say we didn't.
I mean, there's an aspect of being used to something and then having it be gone. Like LeBron had a quote the other day that was like, appreciate this while, like, I'm not going to be here forever. He knows that the finish line is near for him, whether it's 2 more years, 1 more year, 3 more years, we don't know. But he's coming to the end of his career, and he's been such a face of sports in the NBA for so long. But I do wholeheartedly buy this. I think there's a part of what you're saying that's true, that this is building a little bit of brand recognition, and he's getting his name out there. But this guy's a psycho. Like, if there's ever another Ichiro Suzuki who can't take his uniform off at the age of 59 and is still taking batting practice even though he has nothing to do with the organization anymore, it's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And if a team with a chance to win, like, would you want your team to call Tom Brady?
If the Niners have Brock Purdy go down, I wouldn't want them to hesitate on calling Tom Brady.
46-year-old Tom Brady.
I don't care.
Number one
I
option.
don't care. Let him come to San Francisco and let his arm fall off. If you're the Seahawks and Geno goes down and you're, I don't know, let's say you're 7-3.
7-3, yeah.
Geno's gone down, season's over.
Just over the halfway point of the year.
You want Sam Howell or you want them to make that phone call to Tom Brady? I think everybody's saying Tom Brady. You don't want Sam Howell standing back there for 9 seconds and then throwing an interception.
I'm old.
It's the owner thing's weird too. He still has not gotten through to being part of an owner of the Raiders. They continue to kick that can down the road. I don't know if he's actually going to do it. I wouldn't be shocked if he also just said this to say it, to get some attention. He did give us his thoughts on this podcast of the quarterback he thinks that's next in line to win a Super Bowl for the first time. Do you want to hear that?
Ooh, I do want to hear that.
All right.
Next quarterback to win a Super Bowl that hasn't won yet.
I like Josh Allen a lot. I think he's, I'd say I pick Josh.
Josh?
Yeah. I like Josh a lot as a guy, as a leader. But, he's got to get past the Chiefs, and that's hard because Patrick's incredible in the way he leads that team.
Okay. I don't disagree with it.
It's a golf buddy from the TNT shows and stuff, but...
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. I looked up, by the way, I was curious. Steve DeBerg was he made it to 44 in 1998.
I thought he was older.
Bobby Marshall was a tight end who made it to 45.
Okay.
So outside of like kickers, right? Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson.
Right.
There's
Morton
a lot of those.
Anderson.
Morton, Adam Vinatieri kicked till he was 46. So you got a lot of those kind of guys.
Okay, so yes or no? Would you guys gamble that he's in the NFL playing a snap? He's not an owner yet, so that's probably not going to be allowed if he becomes the owner. Let's say he doesn't become an owner. Yes or no, you gamble on him being in the NFL playing in a uniform?
Yes, I'm gambling yes. I think it's going to happen.
Love that.
I think it's going to happen. This guy can't stop. He can't quit.
I think yes is plus money.
If the right situation occurs.
I mean, it's the NFL.
Definitely.
You know somebody's getting hurt. Burrow's missed full seasons. Lamar's been dealt injuries.
You got a team that's on the verge of making the playoff or has clinched a playoff and their guy goes down. Everything else is in place.
Like, think of the Bengals last year. Yeah. Burrow goes down. They were still in the hunt. Browning had him in the hunt. You want Browning? You want Brady?
Yeah, I mean, the Browns turned to Joe Flacco, who's damn near 40 in his own
The
right.
biggest question,
the
biggest question for Brady will become: will he just take the veteran minimum, or does he have a price tag for him to go to?
You got it.
That's the question.
He's haggling over money at this point, dude. You're 46.
Because the Bengals won't. They're not going to give him.
Forking it over. No.
Well, what's a situation that he could end up getting a 2-year, $50 million deal from? Where, like, he comes in to help the team, but that quarterback's not quite as good, and he still can kind of do it. And they're like, well, you're Brady. You sell tickets.
What if he wins another Super Bowl next year? What if Tom Brady gets, what has he got, 7? Is that what he ended up with? What if he wins an eighth Super Bowl next year?
7 with 2 different teams.
With 2 different, God. Go away, Tom. Go away. Damn it. You're already going to ruin the Fox booth because Greg Olson's great, so I don't want him in there.
Well, what if he's good?
He's not going to be better
than
Greg
Can we give
Olson.
him something?
No.
Can we let him prove it first?
No, he's a bum. All right. Go get some more hair plugs, Tom. Some more
jealous.
Why don't you go get some more Botox, huh? How about that? Your cheeks don't move anymore. I don't know if you're going to be able to recall plays in the huddle. His mouth doesn't move.
It's getting personal.
He's definitely coming back. How is this fan base feeling? That's next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
Jordan Spieth, one of the players finishing up his first round this morning, shot a quad on the 15th, put it in the drink. Stat, in the last 20 years at the Masters, only player with scores of 9 or more multiple times on the 15th hole.
Dirt, what happened to Spieth?
It's a great question, man. He lost his swing. He seemed to have found it over the last couple of years in coming back. He's a trendy pick every year at Augusta because he plays well. He's won a green jacket. He maybe should have 3 at this point in his career. That's a tailspin, though, of the back half of a round, and he's gone. I wonder what he's going to do this weekend.
Unfortunate to say out loud, but who's stinking it up? Jordan Spieth at the Masters. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com. Hey, everybody. Sprague.
Go! Where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
All right. Crunch Time, as always, brought to you by our good friends at Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, or online at crunch.com. A comment at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326 reads, Jordan Spieth got married. That's when his game went to crap.
I just hate the theory.
I'm just saying. It's not a theory, it's a fact.
But there's athletes that have disproven this theory of yours.
Sure,
there are.
There's goats that are outliers. Tiger Woods is an outlier. He was sleeping with everything that walked.
There's got to be
He
other
wasn't truly in love.
Come on.
Colin Morikawa, what happened to him? He was Scotty Scheffler before Scotty Scheffler.
Unfortunately, there's enough anecdotal information to indicate that there might be some substance to that theory.
I mean, you're singularly focused on one thing in your life, and all of a sudden, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
A marriage and or having kids, starting a family.
Distracts you just a hair.
I just looked down. Where's Ricky Fowler now?
He's horrible. It was horrible yesterday.
He did have a comeback season, though.
He did. He was good last year.
Okay.
He was 5 over, I think, yesterday. 4 over.
So does your theory only apply in major tournaments? Because, Fowler did have a remarkable comeback year last year.
He did,
got
but
married.
he also did not win a major. He came close.
So your thing is only about
never won a major.
So that's par for his course.
That's true. He won one tournament that was kind of a weakened field. I believe the Rocket Mortgage was his only win last year.
Can you specify, though, how we're applying this?
My logic is that if you're one of these up-and-coming elite generational talents in golf, what usually derails you at some point in your mid-20s is getting married. That you everything you do is eat, sleep, and breathe golf. That's all you care about. That's all you think about. That's all you're focused on. All you dream of when you're a kid is being a professional golfer and setting records and winning majors. And when you get older, you have a little more perspective. You get married. Your life changes a little bit. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think there is a lot of anecdotal evidence that when that happens to certain guys, it just they go wayward.
All right.
And I don't know if it's because they're not practicing as much or because they're not spending as much time on the range. Their wife wants them to do certain. I don't know, but this Roy McIlroy's my guy. He's very similar to this. Roy McIlroy won 4 majors by the age of 25, 24 years old. The dude gets married. Dude gets married. He hasn't won a major in 10 years.
I don't know if you meant to do golf here, but let me add to this, okay?
I just wanted to read that text. I'm glad at least one other person buys into my theory.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't know if your theory's I don't know if I'd classify it as awful or whatever. You kind of seem anti-marriage in this take.
I'm not saying
which
it's
is
a bad
interesting
thing.
from a married guy. But
maybe I'm speaking from experience in my own golf game.
Well, but here's where your theory kind of doesn't hold water.
Yeah.
It's an easy take to make because it's quite literally the hardest sport to win. You mentioned Roy. Well, he won 4 and then he got married. Yeah. The math says nobody wins 4.
Well, Tiger did.
Let alone, okay, thank you for using maybe the greatest golfer of all time, even winning 1. By the way,
not easy.
Brian Harmon, he won 1.
Is he married?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You'd be better served in that.
I don't know his relationship.
I don't know. TBD.
He was terrible today, by the way.
But saying somebody doesn't win after they get married, it is a funny take, but also it works in that sport because nobody wins.
He has been married since 2014. So maybe enough time has passed in the marriage. It's been almost 10 years.
Okay, so there's like a sweet
new
spot where
sense
your
of
rule.
normalcy has set in,
thank
and
you.
now he's ready to go.
You've reestablished the routine.
Thank you. Exactly. He doesn't need to impress her anymore. She's at this point, we're just wanting him out of the house, not wanting him to do all these activities like go to a pumpkin patch. He can go play golf again.
You have these guys going to a pumpkin patch?
Yeah, that's what they do on their weekends. Where is Sweat? Oh, here, I got this. I'm just going to do this now since we talked about golf. We'll get to making fun of a fan base here in a moment, and then Joe Freeman at 8:15. I mentioned earlier you would ask kind of the bigger takeaways of day one at Augusta, and one of them is a depressing note for me that it's just a reminder that this is what golf was like. You had great big names up and down the leaderboard competing against each other week in and week out. One of those guys, and I think one of the things the sport suffers from is not having villains. Bryson DeChambeau was a villain. He's just about to get his second round underway. Wyndham Clark, after his opening round yesterday, was asked, are you concerned about being able to chase down? Bryson looked amazing. He's driving the ball a million miles. He's 7 under. Are you worried about being able to chase down Bryson? And here was Wyndham's answer.
Yeah, we got 54 holes, and in live golf, they only play 54. So I like my chances. We got a lot of golf left. And, yeah, I mean, as you can see, someone shot 7 under. I could do that tomorrow. So.
That's all they do.
Poo-poo is
Just
65.
dumped all over a 65.
No big deal. Just a 65. I could do that tomorrow.
They need Wyndham Clark. They need this Wyndham Clark. They need spicy, in your face. People don't like you. Quit lining up your putts with your caddy. Like, you need somebody that ruffles feathers because there just isn't that guy on the PGA Tour anymore.
I would argue they do need that Wyndham Clark because the internet Wyndham Clark is not a Wyndham Clark you want to talk about publicly.
Be that Wyndham Clark. That's fine. Piss everybody off.
No.
A little drama is good every now and then.
No.
You got to shake it up.
I don't think we want to check the history of his likes on Twitter and see what he's into. But, yeah, I'm with you. You need some spice in your life. We don't need to hash it over. We know why it sucks that all those guys left. Part of the reason is you need a nice villain on the tour. Bryson, I think, was kind of leaning into what that was.
Absolutely he was.
And he's not finding anybody cares or knows about what he's doing at Live, and so this is his a couple times a year to do it.
The only time people watch him now is when he's on Dude Perfect or playing in a major. So there you go. Shout out to Wyndham Clark, and listen to the young golfers out there. Don't get married, man. Don't get married. Chase your dreams, all right? Keep fighting. Keep grinding. Go to the practice range. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Joe Freeman coming up at 8:15. We will Sprague the line at 8:30, so get your fake sponsors in, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. Let's start the final hour with how is this fan base feeling? And that's where we will start next on The Fan.
I have a terrible mustache. I look like a conquistador.
An Odyssey station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, round 1 completed earlier this morning at the Masters. Round 2 is underway. Clear, sunny, but breezy as everyone chases Bryson DeChambeau, your first-round leader with a 765 on the courts right now. Max Homa, 1 under through 2 holes. He is 6 under, tied with Scotty Scheffler, who will tee off around 10:45 this morning. A log jam at 4 under, including former champion Danny Willett and young Dane Nikolai Højgaard. Tiger is 1 over, and he is playing with Max Homa. They are underway. Rory McIlroy 1 under will tee off at 10:48 this morning. Blazers' final home game of the regular season tonight against the Houston Rockets, 7 o'clock on Root Sports Plus. Houston 5.5-point favorites. As for the games with the most impact on seeding, the Pelicans and Warriors meeting in Golden State, 7 o'clock. New Orleans trying to hold on to the 6th seed. They beat the Kings last night in Sacramento. They will take on the Suns tonight at 7:30 in what could be a preview of the 8-9 play-in game. College baseball tonight on 910 ESPN Portland. 20th-ranked Oregon hosting USC. First of a 3-game weekend series. First pitch at 5:05. Our pregame coverage at 4:45. Meanwhile, top 5-ranked Oregon State welcomes Stanford to Corvallis. 6:05 first pitch. You can see that one on the Pac-12 Oregon channel. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Dirt and Sprague.
I mean, how does a tiger get in the bathroom? He almost killed me.
Hey, bro, you mind putting on some pants? I find a little weird I have to ask twice.
Pants at a time like this, I don't have any.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Hey, it's a little too early for being that loud. Hey, too late. It's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh, my God, it's early.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Okay, I'm gonna get on that. Just give me a minute.
Joyce is very upset.
Flo, we've discussed this. Mornings are for coffee and contemplation. Coffee and contemplation.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. Hope you're getting your coffee and contemplation on a Friday morning. Happy Masters Friday, everybody. I'm wearing yellow shorts and a green shirt.
You've worn Masters gear every day this week.
Masters week, man. This is it. This is my Super Bowl. This is it. It's my, like, if I was locked up in prison for the rest of my life and you gave me one conjugal visit sport that I could watch every year, it would be the Masters and not even close.
Really?
Yeah. Because the Super Bowl, I don't always know who like my team might not be involved.
Well, you get 4 days of sports watching if you're applying this, unless they said Sunday only.
And then Sunday only, then it's a debate. Then I got to think about it. But you're kind of finding a gray area there, right? I get 4 days. It's on all day, early in the morning till late at night. I love it. I can't wait to sit around this weekend and watch. Joe Freeman's going to join us in a moment. It'll be great to have him back on the show. Oregon State's baseball team is red hot, and it's a positive down in Corvallis, and so we wanted to talk about that.
Only lost 3 times in 30 games.
That's pretty damn good. Last I checked. And then we'll spring the line at 8:30. So get your fake sponsors in at 503-864-6326. You both have heard of Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio.
Matt Jones is a great story in our industry, and if you've probably seen his Twitter account. Quite literally, would take any on-air gig he could, even if it meant no money.
Yep. Because
he thought he was good enough to do it, and he was, and he basically got so big he created his own thing.
Ooh, nice shot, Tiger. He did. It's massive in Kentucky. And I don't mean this as a shot to him, but he's kind of one of the faces of the fan base, and so it connects to the story that we're going to talk about. He covers Kentucky. He's the insider on all this stuff. Calipari leaves for Arkansas. Here is Matt Jones' tweet on Kentucky's list. He says it is 1, Dan Hurley, 2, Scott Drew, 3, Billy Donovan, and then adds the context at the bottom of the tweet. I would be surprised if this list got past number 2.
I'm surprised Matt Jones would put Billy Donovan at 3 because
Right.
Billy Donovan has told Kentucky no like 3 times.
Not going to happen. Well, Dan Hurley said, a source close to Dan Hurley said they could offer him $25 million a year and he would still turn down that job.
Yeah, he said, I think his quote was about that. He said, my wife wouldn't be happy. I just started making money and I'd lose it in a divorce. I think that was like his quote. Yeah,
that is a great line. Scott Drew said, no, I'm staying at Baylor. They probably worked out a new extension for him. And to your point, Billy Donovan doesn't want to go anywhere.
Scott Drew actually didn't say no.
Oh, that hasn't been officially. Well, I mean, they've already hired another guy, but
No, I know, but Scott Drew didn't say no. God said no.
Oh, Jesus told him to.
God wants him in Waco, Texas.
Okay.
Well, didn't he send his family went to Lexington to
Yes,
check it out?
They checked it out.
Oh, they did.
And then nah.
Then God said
So
no.
I think the family said I ain't moving there.
He did get a Chip Gaines care package once he announced he was staying at Baylor.
That's so good. Yeah, he was tracking private jets from Waco to Lexington. Everybody thought Drew was going to be the guy. And then Matt Jones added, okay, well, now these two top guys are out. Here is your list. Who would you choose? Kentucky fans, Chris Beard, Sean Miller, Shaka Smart, or Bruce Pearl. So that became the next kind of crop of guys. I wonder who of this next category Kentucky is going to hire. It was announced that they are hiring Mark Pope, who until yesterday I had never heard of before.
BYU's
Thanks for
coach.
listening to Pilot's broadcast. We, played them. They were in the conference there for quite a while.
Do you have dirt going home at night and turning
listening to a 7 o'clock broadcast in Portland Pilots basketball? My least favorite sport on the planet.
They hired a coach who's never won a tournament game.
How long has he been at BYU?
5 years. He was at Utah Valley the 4 years before that.
Was he coaching on the team where the kid said "shut the F up" at Portland?
No, I think he was still at Utah Valley. That was one of the Haas brothers.
Okay,
I forgot about that kid.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, shut the F up!
You shut the F up! Yeah, he was at Utah Valley for 4 years, took over at BYU, made the NCAA tournament twice, including this year, and never won a tournament
actually,
game.
I was pretty impressed that they were as competitive in the Big 12 their first year.
Yeah.
120 some odd games this year. I expected them to just get crushed. And
Can we be fair here? I know it's not Drew. It's not a Beard. Have we gotten over the kink stuff with that? That was a weird situation.
I think we've moved on from that.
yeah.
I think this is a sneaky good hire.
Oh, positive spin.
I'm
Okay.
gonna zag when everybody's zigging.
Okay,
I'll tell you why.
Why are we zagging?
Not a soul likes it. Not a soul. Not even Kentucky fan. They're like, yeah, he played. We don't care. We got the BYU guy. Okay. If he sucks, guess what? Everybody's right. He's out in 2 years. But man, you've been seeing Kentucky the last couple of years of Calipari. What have they done? Like, he's going to get talent at Kentucky to at least go to the tournament.
Okay.
So he can at least match Calipari in one and dones, not the players, the tournament appearances. And if he exceeds it, hey, look at us. We found the Pope.
Okay.
he
I'm picking up
played
what you're putting
on
down.
a national championship team.
At
for them.
1916, right?
Yeah.
He was at Kentucky 94 to 96. He's from he went to
He
high school in
started at
Bellevue,
UW.
Washington. Yeah, started at UW.
This is just...
Grew up in the Northwest. He's a Northwest guy.
He won at Utah Valley. He won, as Swag mentioned, pretty impressively in the Big 12.
I think he had 20 wins 4 of his 5 seasons at BYU.
Nobody likes
4
it,
of the 5.
which kind of makes me like it. Like, the fact that nobody likes it makes me think, why can't they just... I don't know if they'll be better than
He
Bama
wants
and
to
Nate
run
Oates.
and gun and jack up threes,
There
so
you
it'll
go.
be an exciting brand of basketball. Defense, suspect, but
And he might
he'll
not be
get-
getting as many one-and-dones as Calipari, which in college basketball
would
we just
allow you to
learned.
build a
Yes,
program.
Yes.
Instead of changing your roster every single season. I always love it, and every fan base is guilty of this. Like, I remember even when Oregon hired Dan Lanning, I think 85% of the fan base had to do a Google search when you got that announcement from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that Dan Lanning was going to be the next head coach at Oregon. 85% of the fan base had to Google where the hell is Dan Lanning from? Who? Huh? Who is this guy?
Yeah, every college fan base is dumb. Tennessee thought they were getting Gruden.
Yes, they did.
At one point, certain program, we're going to get Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Like, what? You're going to get Mike Tomlin? Where'd that come from?
Remember they poo-pooed the Greg Schiano hiring at Tennessee, and that backfired on them
Yep.
because they had, until recently in the last 2-3 years, they have not had much success there.
Well, and also, like, let's not forget our brothers to the north. UW won 4 games, fired Lake, and they're like, Kalen DeBoer?
He was at Fresno State for 2 years.
Kalen DeBoer?
That's our guy.
Hello National Championship the second season into that. So
Yeah.
I'm not telling you they'll win a title at Kentucky, but he's at least an alum. He understands what the university is about and how to maybe could recruit to Lexington. He won't be gambling all in on all of his players just being there for a season and then leaving. So he'll get to build up some continuity a little bit. And nobody likes it, which is usually the masses are asses.
Yeah, you're not wrong
So
there.
I'm just going to go in and say, you know what? It can't get worse than what Calipari was doing.
I will say I pleasantly surprised at how many coaches around the country, and I don't know how many actually turned down the job, how many of them were Jesus, how many of them were the wives or family. I don't know. But you knew they were calling around. Mark Pope was not on the top 3 or 4 names of their big board when they started this surge.
Be stunned if he was in the top 8.
Right? So they had to go down the list a little bit. I give a lot of coaches credit of realizing, like, dude, I got a good thing going wherever I'm at, whether you're Drew, it doesn't matter who. Like, if you've established something, you've built up good, appreciation from the fan base, you're not on a hot seat. You're not one of these guys like Andy Enfield who knows he's going to get turf next year if he doesn't win a couple of tournament games. Like, you got a good thing going. Why would you shake it all up, go to a place where the expectations are national championship or bust or Final Four or bust? I would not want to sign up for that. Mark Pope, it's a different conversation, right? He's at BYU. Maybe he doesn't have the exact same resources as some of these other places. He's been good. He played at Kentucky, and so it makes sense on his front. But for a lot of these other established coaches, man, tip of the cap to them for realizing the grass isn't always greener. And if you don't win a national title in 5 years, you're going to be out of a job. And then you got to go start all over again at another university. So kudos to them. And Kentucky has landed Mark Pope as their next head coach. They have found their Pope. Well, Sprague the Line coming up at the bottom of the hour. Let's talk to Joe Freeman, man. It's been a long time since we've had Joe Freeman on the show. He covers Oregon State baseball. That is next on The Fan.
Covering the stories you've heard about and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Damn it. All right, Daily Ticker time. Tiger just hit a bad tee shot on 4. We're glued to it. Day 2 at Augusta. He's back to even par. There has been a lot of negativity around your university, Brandon Sprague.
Yeah, there has been, man.
Things are not going great. A lot of players are transferring. The women's basketball team was a positive. Now it's turned into a negative. But you got one beacon of hope left. And that beacon of hope is the baseball team.
It's Joe Freeman.
It's Joe Freeman, and it's the men's baseball team. And joining us now is a good friend of the program, first time in a long time, our good buddy Joe Freeman at Blazer Freeman on Twitter. When did we change the Twitter handle? Can we be Beaver Freeman? How does that work?
Let's just change it to Beacon of Hope, Freeman. How about that?
I like that.
There's the positive. I like that, man. Look, Oregon State fan, they have been beaten over the head a lot here in the last couple of months, and we don't need to rehash all of that. But we thought, let's get you on because this is a really positive story. The team is picking up right where they left off last year. What's the change in coverage been like for you, going from so many years of NBA's hoops to covering college baseball? And what are some of the stories that you've loved kind of talking about so far early in this baseball season?
The Oregon State baseball team is a lot of fun to cover. It's a well-run program with a lot of good people involved in it, and it's a very talented program. And this season, this team is probably the best team that I've covered in, I don't know, I've been doing this 4 or 5 years now. They had a really good run a couple of years ago, got within one run and one out of making, the College World Series, and I think this team is well positioned to go to Omaha this year. I don't know where you want to start, but I guess when you're talking about this team, you have to look at their lineup. It's one of the best lineups in college baseball, up and down with talent. They're on pace to shatter the program home run record they set last year. I think they have 62 home runs through how many games are we at? I don't know. Well, I don't know where we're
31,
at. 31,
yeah.
31. There you go. So last year they said it was 89, and they're going to obliterate that, obviously. And then, of course, for the casual fan, I feel like even the casual fan has heard about Travis Bazzana, who's arguably the best college baseball player in the country and, positioned to be a top 5 pick in the MLB draft.
Joe, I want to get to the team. I do, but I am curious, and one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, you've been covering this, as you mentioned now, for a few years. I think people understand, but don't quite understand what it's like to do the grind of an NBA beat as long as you did it and how tiring that is on your life, your personal life. What was it about Oregon State baseball that you gravitated towards, whether that was the assignment and then you kind of fell in love with it, or just an instant, this is kind of generally a pretty special situation, some years better than others. What was it about that beat that kind of drew you to it?
Well, it was asked of me to do, so that initially drew me to it. If we're going to keep things above the board here,
yeah.
But once you get into it, anything you cover, if you're around good, honest people who treat you well, you tend to, find your footing and such. But I mean, personally, I played baseball my whole life growing up, from age 2 or 3 through high school. So. I played virtually every sport growing up, but that was the one that I played my whole life. And so, I have a pretty intimate knowledge of the sport and whatnot, and was a very passionate baseball fan until the Red Sox hired Bobby Valentine, and then I just hit the eject button. So, but yeah, I mean, look, it is a perennial power and college baseball is a niche sport. I grew up partially in Tallahassee, Florida. And we had season tickets to Florida State baseball games most years that I lived there. And I mean, I remember as a kid running on the field after the game and being around that atmosphere all the time. It's for someone who's a baseball fan, it's a very special sort of a thing. I mean, it's a drastic step down from the majors, obviously, but for Oregon State fans and for baseball fans, it doesn't get much better, than Oregon State baseball for sure.
Well, how surprised are you? You have a really good update on some of the injuries they've been dealing with. How surprised are you of the offense and how they're probably going to break these records despite losing some pretty key figures?
Well, I don't know if I'm surprised, but it definitely speaks to the just ludicrous depth they have. Talking
people around the program in the fall and then sort of writing about it ahead of the season. Ryan Gibson, who's their hitting coach and a former player and someone who's very tight with Coach Mitch Canham and Coach Mitch Canham, they both said, look, this is probably the best offense and the best lineup this school has ever had. And that's really saying something. I mean, with how many major league players this program has produced through the years. But, to be able to withstand, they have 3 starters out and 3 starters who have missed significant time. 2 outfielders, Brady Casper's missed almost the whole season with a sprained knee. Micah McDowell, I think, has played in only 21 games because of a couple minor injuries. And then, a freshman All-American candidate, Trick Caraway's a third baseman. He's only got 2 years of college baseball before he goes to the majors, and he'll be a first-round pick. I mean, he's sort of Gavin Turley light for them with the impact he make. And he shattered his finger on a bunt attempt and I think he's only played in like 11 or 12 games or so. And so those are 3 huge middle-of-the-order pieces that they've missed. And so to be able to, produce at the level they are, I mean, they're hitting 325 as a team. They lead the Pac-12 in nearly every offensive category, you name it, and they do. And so, I guess I'm a little surprised because of all those absences, but it just speaks to the depth and talent. They also missed their Friday night ace for about 2 or 3 starts there early in the year too, so they were able to overcome that as well.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Joe Freeman is our guest, at Blazer Freeman on Twitter. He's senior writer at the Oregonian, covering now Oregon State baseball, has been for the last couple of years. One of the best teams in the country, starting a big series here tonight down in Corvallis. A listener is asking, as a Beaver fan, and it sucks that they have to go have this mindset and this thought process, but I figured I'll ask you because I thought the women's basketball team was safe from it. They went to the Elite Eight. I know the downgrade in conference isn't great, but felt like that was a group that maybe would stick it together and see, hey, how far can we go next year? Let's prove everybody wrong. When you talk to people, when you're having conversations down there, is there a fear that the mass exodus will hit the baseball team? Is that not even a topic of conversation? Like, how's that going internally?
It's not really a topic of a conversation right now, just because of where we're at in the season. It's a very difficult thing to go around and ask guys, hey, are you thinking about transferring after this, And, first of all, you're a jerk if you do that. I mean, for obvious, just they look you in the face like, are you kidding me? And then also, they're really living in the moment, as big as the sports cliche goes. They're just grinding out day to day. And so I personally would be surprised if there was a mass exodus in college with the baseball program. I have heard that, and I know that there's a fear, and I would say it's a legitimate fear based on what we're seeing across all sports at the university, but in particular football, and then just a massacre in women's basketball. But the one thing that I will say is different about baseball is first of all, it's the crown jewel of the athletic program with its 3 national championships and continued longevity of success. But they have chosen a different path than pretty much every other sport at the school. They're going into an independent schedule next year. And between the development that this staff for years has shown, I mean, they've got guys like Wade Meckler and Jacob Melton and Cooper Jerpy and Justin Boyd, stars of the program a couple of years ago who are either have made major league appearances already in the case of Wade Meckler, or on the verge like Jacob Melton of cracking the bigs. They have a track record of grooming guys. They sent a program record guys to the draft a couple of years ago. So they've shown a proven ability to develop guys and get them to the next level. Between that and their ability to play an independent schedule and still play high-level competition, I don't know that it's going to affect them as much. Beyond, I think they're going to have to travel more. I think they're going to go visit a lot more teams. But it kind of opens the door to play more high-profile teams. And I know in talking with people behind the scenes, they've mapped out the majority of their schedule for the next year or more. And it will include teams from the future Big Ten, the ACC. It'll have a lot of opponents that were, a part of what will be the old Pac-12. They played in a very premier tournament earlier in the year with Arkansas and Michigan and Texas Tech and someone else I'm forgetting. And so they're going to play in that thing again next year. And so baseball is a little different from that standpoint. And also, over the years, historically, baseball teams, can get to Omaha that are like, what? Who's that team? So it's a little bit different. But all that said, I will be holding my breath after the season and as well as making a lot of phone calls just to make sure that everything is as it should be. Because at this point, man, I don't believe anything anybody tells me or it's hard to trust anything. I mean, I have talked and texted and looked Damian Martinez in the eyes and spoken to him countless times and listened to him talk about loyalty and never wanting to leave and believing in Trent Bray and wanting to help him keep it going and blah, 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 blah. And yet here we are. So, 15 years of covering the NBA combined with stuff like that leads one to be a bit skeptical of things that people tell them.
I know you've been covering it a few seasons now. Expectations sometimes are not fair that we put on people. Players have to grow. We should be allowing coaches to grow and learn as well. Mitch Canham gets to Corvallis and becomes the head coach and overtakes it from Pat Casey, and they don't win a World Series right away, so it's instant panic. Oh, is our program doomed? They're rolling right now. They're 27-4, massive series against Stanford this weekend. What have you seen just in Canham's growth as kind of the leader of this team, an alum, a guy who had success with this program, understands what it's about? How has he grown in your eyes just covering the program at this point the last couple of years?
Well, he pretty much stays true to himself. I mean, he was a natural-born leader on those those back-to-back World Series teams, and back when he played, he two-time All-American. It went up through the minors, and then he was a manager in the minors for many years. And quite frankly, he was on a path to be a major league manager. And I think the one and only job that led him to lead that path was this job. It's sort of his dream job. He's kind of preaches about being a Beaver through and through, even through everything that's gone on over the last, year or so. But I've just seen him grow, I guess, in comfortability. He was always pretty comfortable in his own skin and spoke to be comfortable taking over for a legend. I guess it's a little easier in his position since he was such a star for that legend and learned so much from that legend. But it really has, over the last 4 or 5 years, kind of become his program. He's kind of put his stamp on things, and he's got a very different temperament than Pat Casey, who was very fiery, seemingly always running around with his hair on fire.
Red ass.
Total red ass. Yeah. Total red ass. And I think Mitch has some of those traits. He just masks them a lot better. He's very stoic. He's always very calm. I'll see a guy just make a horrendous play or just a ridiculous base running decision and I always kind of look at the dugout at some point to see Mitch, and he's just got the same exact stoic look on his face. It's remarkable because I would probably be somewhere in between, maybe at times leaning more towards Pat. I would like to think that I would be more Mitch, but when you see people just do dumb things, it just drives me nuts. And so, yeah, I mean, he's at this point almost everybody, but I want to say one guy, Joey Munt, who is like in his 12th year because of injuries in the bullpen, is a guy that at some level Mitch has recruited or been, intimately involved with in the recruiting process. And so, I mean, this is his team, this is his program, it's his entire staff. He's overhauled a lot of things from, a nutrition standpoint and a weightlifting standpoint and all the stuff that, modern sports has done. And so at this point, I guess the only thing eluding him is that first trip to Omaha and, of course, that first championship. But, I mean, let's not forget, Pat Casey was an incredible coach. He won 800 games. He's in the College Baseball Hall of Fame. He coached, I don't know, however many years it is, 40 years, an insane number of years. He won 3 times, and that's a ridiculous accomplishment. My childhood hero, Mike Martin, who coached Florida State, I think he won 40 games, like 40 years in a row, and he never won a World Series. Yeah. So, that's the way baseball is insane. You could have the best. Tennessee a couple of years ago didn't even make the World Series, and they were by far the best team in college baseball. So it doesn't always happen, but I would just be absolutely stunned if this team didn't get to Omaha. It is without a doubt, if not the best, one of the top 5 best teams in the country, no question.
Last one I got before you, Joe. How many internal fist pumps have you done of not having to cover the Blazers for the last 3 years?
I could not have picked a better time.
You've really timed it perfectly, man.
Take a break, yeah. I mean, you never say never. I would never be opposed for going back and doing some NBA coverage and hopping back in that fray. It was a lot of fun for a lot of years. Teams have their downs. Let's not forget the year before I started covering them, they went, I want to say 21-8 or 60 or whatever, 61 that year, that Nate year. So, there were some lean years then, and they really turned things around. And so they're a good move or two away from doing that, I guess. But yeah, I have not missed it. It does not seem to be a super fun environment. I know still plugged in with Blazers fans and stuff. They're not happily, rightfully so. How are you guys handling it? What's your level of?
I haven't watched a game in 2 months, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not worth the time.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's one thing that I've talked about with people about other sports is like Oregon State men's basketball, for example. It's not when people are mad. That's great. When people are happy, that's better. When people don't care, when people are apathetic, that's a problem because you want people to care one way or the other. And when you're so bad and people are so hopeless that they just don't care, that's a problem. So, that's the next kind of worry for things on that front.
Yeah, that's a nice little Walton or Odin there from Joe Freeman on the Blazer season.
There you go.
I love it, man. That was nice perfect. Pull. Joe Freeman, at Blazer Freeman on Twitter. He's covering Oregon State baseball. He is a beacon of hope. Continue to be one. Friend of the program. Let's catch up again soon. Thanks as always for the time, man.
Anytime, guys. It was good talking to you. Y'all take care.
Yeah, you too. Joe Freeman. Really good stuff from him.
He's great on the beat, man. I know they kind of asked him, but he's a professional. He wraps himself up into it. He's got a ton of great stories at O-Live. And I thought, Beaver fans deserve one.
Need one.
It's been tough the last couple months.
Need a win. I hope that team sticks together, and I hope they make it to Omaha this year. Let's get to Sprague in the Line. Your fake sponsors are welcome. We'll do some gambling next. First, your swag with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, round one at the Masters wrapped up this morning after the 2.5-hour delay Thursday. Bryson DeChambeau was your first-round leader at 7 under. He's been caught by Max Homa, 2 under through 4. Right now, he's 7 under for the tournament. They are 1 shot ahead of Scotty Scheffler after his 6 under 66. He will tee off at 10:48. Tiger Woods 1 over. So far, he's even through 4 holes today. All 30 NBA teams will play tonight and Sunday afternoon to finish up the regular season, including your Portland Trail Blazers. Final home game tonight against the Houston Rockets. 5.5-point underdog, 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Games with the biggest impact on seeding include the Pelicans at the Warriors, 7 o'clock tonight. New Orleans trying to clinch the 6th seed in the West. 7:30, Suns and Kings, and what could be a preview of the 8-9 play-in game. Round 2 of the WHL playoffs start tonight. Portland Winterhawks at home at Memorial Coliseum. They will take on the Everett Silvertips. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swangard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
See what we got here as we turn and burn our Sprague and the Line picks. Sprague and the Line brought to you by Shady NIL Agents. At least Sprague is honest about his predatory tactics to lose you money with his picks.
You're damn right I am.
Honest and upfront, that's what we are. Sprague and the Line brought to you by the worst gambler of all time. No, not Sprague. I'm talking about the interpreter guy, but I get the confusion. That's on me.
I might be worse.
You're not worse than that, dude. You're not worse than that.
I think you're underestimating.
You had a
how
really good
difficult.
football season 2 years ago.
Yeah,
you
2
hit it
years
almost
ago.
60%.
Yeah, I did.
You had a down year this year. It washes out.
Yeah.
You're up, you're down.
Okay, thank you.
Sprague and the Line brought to you by Sprague's newfound knowledge that there is someone out there who makes worse picks than he does. This is a miracle. Sprague and the Line brought to you by...
Did you just take a rip? Sounded like you took a rip of a
I was
ball
eating
right there.
I was eating a little power protein bar, and I got a little chunk of it down the
If
wrong
you
tube.
die live on air with a protein bar,
That'd be a hell of a way to go.
boy, you're going to be all over the trades.
Sprague and the Line brought to you by Bong Rips at 8:30 in the morning. Happy Masters Friday, everybody.
Chicken wings and eggs.
Sprague and the Line brought to you by Sprague's Picks, brought to you by a Japanese translator. No more needs to be said than that.
Dude, latest episode of Shogun, unbelievable.
I got to dive into that show. Last one, Sprague and the Line brought to you by Ippei Mizuhara. Did I say that right? You
Yeah.
think Sprague is a bad gambler? Hold my beer. Common theme
bets.
today. I lost my parlay again last week, so I'm not going to go first this week. What do you guys like this weekend?
By the way, last place finisher in our football picks will be the Mizuhara Cup champion. That's our new, for dead last in gambling with your friends and your family, you're the Mizuhara Cup champion.
Are we going to do like a Mizuhara trophy? Is there like, what do you win if you're the Cup champion?
We don't win anything. You should lose something.
Well, we need to
What do you
a
lose?
collection plate.
Pass it around the office.
I am going to take, in Sprague and the Line, this is going to sound a little wacky. The Celtics have nothing to play for. They're on a back-to-back. They didn't care about the Knicks last night. I'm going to take the Hornets plus 7.5.
Okay.
All right, no reaction. Okay, I'll take Hornets plus 7.5 at Boston.
I mean, I had to remember who you said there.
Why are you writing them down?
I'm writing these down.
For what?
I keep
you
track
don't
of these.
Bring it up next week at all.
I do. Unless I only bring them up if I win, so that's why I like to write them down to make sure I remember that I pick. Swag, you got any bets you like this weekend?
I'm going to take the Winterhawks on the puck line tonight, plus 175 to win by more than a goal. Game 1 against the Silver Tips.
You can actually gamble on the Winterhawks?
You can.
Yeah, you got to
Really?
dig a little bit, but it's there on draft.
If you go into like the hockey tab,
Yeah.
there's a thing on the top corner that says NHL, and if you click that, all the other hockey leagues pop up, and you can gamble on their games.
Okay.
Their second round of the playoffs start tonight, and
All
you
right.
can check out the latest episode of the Portland Winterhawks podcast very soon
There
after
you
the
go.
show at 1080thefan.com.
I am going to take the draw at plus 260, Timbers and LAFC tomorrow.
Okay.
The Timbers that's just what they're doing right now as they try to figure out a new coach and new players and all that sort of stuff. So
Timbers
they will
draw.
score some goals, but they'll do something dumb at some point.
On the Timber note, our Timber P1 bro, ice cold on Sprague and the Line. They
He's
know
having a rough go, yeah.
Let's keep it going, though.
Yes, keep riding it.
Maybe this is to your point, Swag. Timbers haven't given up in games, but do give up a lot of goals. Let's go with an Evander anytime goal at plus 200 or total goals over at 3.5 at plus 180.
Okay. You ready for Dirt's Friday Parlay?
There you go.
Brought to you by Chicken Wings and Bong Rips. We're going tonight in Major League Baseball. It didn't work out for me last week, but I'm going to keep riding this horse. I like gambling against bad teams. Somehow I gambled against the A's, and they won the game outright. Bastards. I am taking the Blue Jays run line of minus 1.5 tonight against the Colorado Rockies.
Okay.
Kevin Gausman has a 9.53 ERA. That's got to come down. They're playing the Rockies. Give me the Blue Jays minus 1.5 run line. I'm taking the 76ers tonight. They have something to play for, trying to fight into the 6th seed.
Against the Magic.
They are playing the Orlando Magic in Philly, and they are a 7.5-point favorite. I will take the Philadelphia 76ers to cover that. And then a value bet for the Masters that I rope into this. Wyndham Clark, top 10.
Yes.
Is right now at plus 450.
Yes.
That's tasty.
Grab
Good
it.
major player. Yeah, I know he didn't end his round great yesterday, but
Well, it was his first competitive round at Augusta. Started off hot, got into a little trouble. He will process that. I expect him to bounce back.
He's
today.
running his mouth against Bryson. He's going to come out guns
Yes.
a-blazing today. Pew, 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 pew. There's
Spicy
your
Wyndham.
Friday parlay of the day.
My Bravos got absolutely shelled by the Mets yesterday. Lost a series. We don't need to talk about it. Their pitching's been a problem for almost 2 years now. I've been telling people I get laughed at because they can score runs. I'm hammering a Braves money line. It's minus 190, so it's not amazing value. They're playing the Marlins. The Marlins just beat the Yankees. They're going to lose again. I'm taking Braves all day.
They're due for a loss.
Yeah.
Anything else, Swag? Anything else you want to get?
No, I think I'll just stick with the local teams there.
No UFL bets?
No.
What's the UFL?
The United Football League.
Yeah.
I know you've been watching. They're 2 weeks in.
Did you see the picture I sent you last Saturday?
Is Mike Riley still coaching?
No.
No.
He's gone.
No, I think Wade
He
Phillips
died?
is
No,
a coach.
I mean, calm down. Don't kill Mike Riley.
You said he's gone. I don't know. Did I miss a story while I was out?
No.
I was living in a bubble for 2 months.
I shot you a photo of a game yesterday that just happened to be on my
Yes.
TV because it was ESPN, and there might have been 30 people in the
Nobody
game.
there.
Like, what are we doing? When are we going to learn this is never going to be a thing?
It's never going to be
Never in our lifetime will this be a thing.
Nope. Tiger's going to long par putt. He's going to fall to 2 over. No. This is depressing.
Hello, sandwich bet, line 2.
We're bragging already?
I can't wait to get +4 and be like, oh, my leg hurts.
We're bragging already, huh? You're pooping
Yeah,
on
the
Sunday,
cut
Rad.
line.
You know
the
you
cut
want to watch
line's
him this
gonna
weekend.
be
I do.
somewhere around
I think it ends up
+2,
being-
+3.
Oh,
I think it ends up at 3 over.
Oh, he just missed the par putt.
It's all right.
Oh,
He's going to be 2 over. He's fine.
No, his back's looking like it's tight the way he's walking.
A lot of golf left. A lot of golf left for LT Gray. He'll be okay. He's got a chance to win. There you go. It's Breaking the Line every Friday. Thanks, everybody, for the fake sponsors. Let's send you off in your weekend. Wrap it up next on The Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
When you're about to get freaky at night, you think about it.
There he goes for fist bumping your way to the weekend every Friday.
Are you having sex?
Who's getting freaky? Are
What
you
was
getting
that
freaky
about?
tonight, Swag?
I don't know. It's Friday. We're going into the weekend. Weather might be
Full body
okay.
boner for 2 weeks.
Wow. That's your issue.
You gonna stop by your stabbing cabin on the way home?
No.
This was her stabbing cabin.
Stop playing those drops.
Look at Swag feeling all frisky, man. He's in a good mood going into a Friday night.
He's been a little horny today.
A little horny?
A little horny.
We're getting horny vibes from
He's
Swag
getting
today?
horny. The Masters. He's got
Does the Masters
Winter
get
Hawks.
you horny? There's a good poll question right there. Does it get you horny, baby?
We know it gets you horny.
It does get me horny.
Do you walk into the bedroom?
I think he does
Hello,
some. I think he does some sick and twisted Masters role playing at his house. Is what I think.
Hey. It's the mother of my children you're talking about. You watch your mouth.
I didn't say it was wrong. I just said I think that's what you do.
Yeah, I do make her wear her Masters gear.
Oh, God.
During the Masters.
Oh,
you know.
okay.
I didn't know where
I thought we were going somewhere else.
She's got to wear I got a hat. I got a
You need a Masters rag?
Yeah. Oh, maybe I do. Did we ever get an
Do you
update?
put azaleas on your nightstands next to the bed?
You're damn right I do. I got my frame flag. I put it right over the bed so I can look at it like it's the 18th
There
green.
piped in birds chirping in your room.
When you're done doing the deed, assuming you did the deed right, do you come out just wearing a green jacket?
I should just walk around the house in the morning with drinking a coffee, a green jacket on.
Let's be honest. She's probably wearing the green jacket.
That's how it works.
I got
yeah.
the job done.
That's right. I'm shirtless, just scratching my chest awkwardly. You know, that's me.
Well, what you'll find in your life once kids become more and more a part of it is like, at some point, it just becomes something that they feel they just need to get done, so you shut up. There you go.
There,
You're
fine.
welcome.
You're done. It's over, all right? Would
Leave
you
me alone now.
Would you stop complaining now, please?
Caesar on
Jesus.
my body for 2 minutes. Get out of here.
Breathing like a pug. Well, Max Homa, any homosexuals out there? He's tied for the lead at 7 under, man. What's wrong?
I know too many pugs.
Bad visual.
I don't like pugs.
Yeah.
And now he's the breathing in my head. But with your face.
You got a deviated septum there? What's going on, man? Open up your pathways.
Those dogs look like Anthony Kim.
They do. They absolutely
Stay away
do.
from the parties, man.
How much cocaine do pugs do? There's a good poll question for you. Dude, open up the pathways, brother. Who are we rooting for this weekend now that we've gotten a glimpse of nearly a day and a half of leaderboard? Do we want Scotty to do it again? Max to break through?
I think
Bryson to be the villain?
Max Homa winning the Masters would be a great story.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Max Homa. He's
Max
good.
Homa would be cool.
He's good.
Want to see Tiger get it together and make the cut?
This 3-hole stretch is just brutal, man.
I hope I win a sandwich. But I'd like to have Tiger in the
4, 5, 6 is tough.
He's seeing the tee shot.
Nobody. Nikolai Højgaard is another one up there.
Yes, young Dane, a
He go in the
young
bunker?
Dane.
Oh, he stayed right there. That's all right.
A
It's not
young
bad.
Dane?
He's from Denmark.
Oh, I didn't know they were called Danes.
The
Danes.
Danes.
How about that?
Thus, yes, the Danish comes from Denmark,
Okay.
as opposed to the Dutch.
You idiot.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Hey, go Winterhawks tonight. Game 1 of the
Go
second round.
Winterhawks tonight.
Taking on
Go
the Everett
Timbers
Silvertips.
tomorrow. I will be attending the Timbers game.
Oh, there you go.
Are you calling a game?
Not this weekend, no. I don't think they can find enough crew for it. Kind of short notice. Their schedule's getting all wonky because of Paw Patrol and Joey Allen's a
And Blazer
turd.
fans attending tonight, bless you.
Look, there's only a couple games left.
Last home game of the season.
Yeah.
They're playing again?
Yeah.
The season's
Yeah.
not over yet?
Not yet.
They're at. Where are they at on Sunday?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I text you guys I watched, and you were like, I didn't even know they were playing.
I had no clue. They should have won last night. We should have beat Golden State.
Yeah, they rested Clay and Draymond.
Would have helped our lottery chances,
Then
right?
Steph played the fourth quarter.
Well,
and
we
that
were
was
up.
it.
They went on a big run to close the game out. They almost won the game.
Sounds about right. That will do it for us, folks. Thanks so much for being a part of our Friday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for following. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page and like the video while you are there. Enjoy the Masters this weekend, everybody. We will talk to you Monday at 6 a.m. Calling us next. Listen to 1080 The Fan.